in with Mauler and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, gonna send back a beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine. Pass fail safe, I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line before the Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, Mauler and the critical drinker.
All right, woohoo! We're here. Welcome everyone.
Yeah, bar time.
It's bar time, baby. The bar is open. Fill your glasses and let's get this shenanigans underway, shall we?
Yes.
You fired up for this tonight, Mauler? You ready?
Of course. There's spiders abound.
There are indeed.
I like them whenever they're not in front of me or crawling on me and stuff.
Yeah. Then you kind of go into epileptic seizure with terror. Yeah, I know the feeling. But well, yeah, you like the Spooderman, so we can talk a little bit about that shortly.
Yes.
But yeah, welcome everyone in chat. Looking forward to a lovely open bar this evening. But we've got a lovely lineup of guests too, so I guess we should start bringing them in, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right. Making his return to the bar is Az from Heelversity's Babyface. He is here and he's ready. And I'm gonna say, man, you're looking very svelte these days. You're looking very slimline. I can tell you've been away from the booze and you've been away from the sugar and stuff. Looking good, man.
No, I told you I gotta lose half my body weight just to be called fat. and
so,
the
well, we can call you fat now, then, can we?
No, I'm not there. And it's weird because all the weight I've lost, I've literally lost like 19 kilograms on my shoulders and face. That's it. It's just down below.
Yeah. Well, we can't see that though, so it looks good. You know.
Exactly.
Now you got a face for streaming.
Yes, I've got a face for radio, but yeah, okay.
I have to ask, like, how did you do it? Like, going without booze for what has it been, like 6 months now, something like that? It's getting on for that.
No booze is we're about 150 odd days, I think, without booze. Yeah, it's surprisingly easy.
You just said that's a drinker. I don't know.
I know, yeah.
Well,
you're saying that to the wrong guy.
The energy drinks have been hard. The pop, the fizzy pop has been hard. But the alcohol kind of felt like a breeze compared to them, because normally if I have alcohol, it's like a rum and coke. So it's with something else, or a vodka and something. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's 2-year plan. 2-year plan. Gotta keep going.
No,
gotta
respect,
keep going.
man. I imagine it's a very difficult thing to do, but well, you're obviously making great progress, so well done. Go. All right. Well, we've also got this is a gentleman who's making his first appearance on Open Bar. He started out, got to know him just as being one of my subscribers, and he's become pretty well known on Platoon's podcast. He's streamed with Movie Cynic and so on. And we had a lovely happy hour where we talked about Last Action Hero. So welcome aboard to Dark Hour. Welcome to the bar, man.
How you doing? How you doing?
Hello. We are hanging in there. Yeah, good to have you on board.
I'm very happy to be on board. Honestly, it was funny the other day when you asked me, and I kind of was like, "Oh, I'll get back to you tomorrow." And I was like, "Shit, I shouldn't have said it that way. I should have just been like, no, I'll say yes."
I like that you're playing it coy. It's like, I'll keep the drinker waiting.
Yeah, I played it so coy. I messaged you about like 30 seconds after, and I was like, no, I can make it. I swear.
No, I mean, like, obviously, it's great to be having you back. Last time we did this was a happy hour, so this is slightly different. You get to hang with the rest of us guys. But yeah, like Dark Hour's just got he's just starting out on YouTube. Really, his channel's still growing. And the link to it is in the description, and so we'd really like to get him above 1,000 subscribers tonight.
That would be amazing.
Needs a few hundred. I think we can do it. So for all the lovely people in chat, if you've got an opportunity, maybe consider clicking on his channel and giving him a subscribe, because it would be great to get him above 1K. But yeah, we'll see how it goes anyway. But yeah, we've also got, making his probably 500th appearance on the bar, it's Little Platoon. We should just make you co-host at this point, man.
Honestly, you open a bar, there's booze at the bar, I'm going to be there every time. No, thank you for having me back. So on the live show I do, Dark Hour. Some people in chat seem to think that Dark Hour looks a bit like Joe Rogan. So if there are any Joe Rogan jokes in the chat, I'm sure he'll appreciate those.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. There was somebody in the comments a long time ago of that happy hour said that too. It was, and I thought it was like a one-off, and then it became like a running gag now, which is fun. That and the fact that I have like a hammer space for comics, I could just pull out depending on the situation. So that may come up. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, if I play, we've assembled our team, our crack team of highly motivated individuals. So I think we can crack on with this. The first thing I was going to talk a little bit about tonight is Spider-Man into the... sorry, I always get that wrong. I said I would do this in my video, and I did. Across the Spider-Verse. It's been out for almost a week now, and it's been doing pretty well as far as the international box office goes. It's now sitting at 236 million worldwide, and it's only been out for 5 days so far. No, 6 days, sorry. So yeah, we're still waiting for a couple of the days according to Box Office Mojo. It's slightly behind. But those are pretty good numbers, and for an animated movie, it seems to be doing really well, and it's interesting to see how well it's been received. So pretty good stuff overall, and I think everyone on the panel has seen it by this point. I'll just do a quick check. As I know you've seen it. Dark Hour, pretty sure you've seen it. Mauler, I think you have. Platoon, have you seen it?
I have attempted to watch it twice, and I think I have got to the end of it both times. But
wait, what does that mean?
Well, I don't like spiders. That's one thing. I have a minor allergy to multiverses at this point, and every time a multiverse gets explained to me, I find myself with a really pressing need to be doing something else. And so, I've had it on, and I will attempt for a third time to actually pay attention to it. But it seemed all right as a general rule. There are a few sort of, it's the typical like zany humor whiplash thing that occasionally brings you out of a serious scene that makes itself felt in this film as well. I think the first one, because I hadn't seen the first one until yesterday either, so I watched the first one yesterday, and I thought the first one was probably stronger narratively than the second one. At least it held my attention more, but I don't know if that's quite the same thing.
I'd be inclined to agree. I definitely felt the first one was better. I mean, I guess we can just do a round table, I guess, of people's initial impressions of it. Because, yeah, overall, I quite liked it. I thought it was probably a bit too long. There was a little bit too much focus on certain characters. There was a couple that I felt probably didn't need to be in it. They just kind of ate up screen time. I didn't love the portrayal of Peter Parker in it. I guess we can talk about that later if it comes up. But yeah, overall, I thought visually it's very colorful and it's a very impressive piece of animation. And overall, I quite liked it, and I am interested to see where it's going. It did feel like it ended very abruptly, though. There wasn't really any self-contained story there. It just stopped like in the middle of a scene essentially. So, but yeah, overall, I thought it was pretty good. Mauler. Should we go clockwise?
I've already seen several people in chat being like, he must have hated it, right? I found so many things wrong with it. Other people are like, come on, Mullen, don't hate this one too. Like, oh, maybe I won't reveal that portion. I can just say, I don't think this film is going to age in a sense that it's as popular as it is right now. We seem to be in a hyper spider happy zone for culture. Spider-Man is like fucking over the top popular. Everyone's talking about it all the time. The games, obviously the animated movies, and even No Way Home, right? That was pretty hype when it came out. Everyone, Spider-Man, 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 just constantly everywhere. Everyone's talking about spiders and jumping around, web slinging. And multiverse has obviously times it by a bazillion because I've never heard of any of these fucking spider people. But that's my fault. I'm not as familiar because it's funny, right? I was watching it and I was seeing all these different people, and I was like, I'm guessing that's from a cartoon. I'm guessing that one's from, is that the game one? Because I didn't even play the game one yet. And I was like, do you guys even know they had the Spider-Man ice cream in there at one point? The little fucked up meme that is referenced in the first film. In the second one, it's actually like chasing Miles through the Spider HQ. What I'm trying to say is they stuffed this film full of everything. Now, hype as fuck. Everyone's talking about how amazing it is, all this stuff, which, gave it quite a thing to live up to when I was watching it. Didn't live up to that, but I don't think many films could have. The big thing that I was told about vaguely and then ended up feeling exactly on, I mentioned this on Real BBC, but I think the reason this will age badly is that over time, Spider-Man fans are going to get more and more frustrated with how their favorite Spider-Man or their preferred Spider-Man or their known Spider-Man went along with the whole plan, but Miles didn't. That is, I think, a core issue in this film that they just had to bulldoze through in order to have the story they want. I think Peter Parker's Spider-Man / variants of him is the worst, possibly the worst hero to choose for being complacent in a world of we have to let our loved ones die in order to maintain canon. He might be the worst one to pick to go along with that sort of thing, especially when the evidence is so flimsy. It's like I went into a different universe and then it fell apart, so I'm pretty sure it was my fault. And it's like I have a feeling by the time we hit the next film that they're going to reveal that's not true. And that all the other Peter, even Gwen, I was very confused by. She seems to go along with it right up until she's like, actually, nah. And I was just like, oh, that seems like a pretty fundamental belief system change. And why? Because Miles is just like, no, I don't think so. So even Peter Parker, Peter B. Parker, whatever, I think he's served badly by this. And I would go further and say most of the Spider people are served badly by this if you really think about it fundamentally. But it's all, I think, supposed to be hand-waved in favor of getting the story we want for Miles Morales specifically. And I've seen people online trying to move it to the side, be like, yeah, it's they were convinced. I've seen even people, the Spider-Man PS4 guy, like because he pops up in the film, they were like, he would never do that. And of course, they make it canon that Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and probably MCU Spider-Man and everyone else is a part of this universe. Lego Spider-Man. Would any of them, are any of them in character to be doing something like this? And if so, why the hell is Miles the one that breaks the system? That seems weird. So yeah, that is a huge sticking point for me. But I mean, there's plenty of amazing stuff in it. The animation, the performances. I really like the editing. Loads of the art styles. I quite like Miles's journey, the character interactions he has. There's a lot of different development, loads of references. The amount of effort in this film is through the fucking roof. I just, it's so rare that a multiverse story gets told these days that I'm not like, oh, but if you say that, then that, and this, that, and that. I liked Miguel O'Hara. I thought he was really cool.
I think everyone likes Miguel, yeah.
And I will say it started weigh on me a bit that every single character is the jokey, quippy, witty, everything's fun. He was a breath of fucking fresh air in that environment. Actually having a character who was like, can we focus? Serious. We're trying to save the multiverse, you know?
Yeah.
That was nice. So yeah, I'll stop talking now.
I was just before you go on, I was going to say as well, when you were talking about the performance of Miles' voice actor, apparently the actor himself is wanting to slim down so that he can possibly play him in a live action version of the movie, which they're wanting to do. And I just thought, you're like 35 years old. How are you gonna play this like 16-year-old?
He's a bit old.
It's like it doesn't matter how much you slim down, you're not gonna look 15 years younger. It was a fun one, but anyway, Az, what was your thoughts on it?
For the most part, I liked it. I thought the animation was incredible. I thought the score, the music was excellent. I thought it worked really well with the film. I like Miles. I like Gwen as characters. It was way too long. Could have shaved off good half hour at least. Good half hour. And I'm pretty sure that when it does come out on Blu-ray, whatever, that somebody's going to make a nice succinct cut of this, and it's going to be 10 times better because of it. I liked Miguel. I didn't like his introduction. He had to be weakened at the beginning to precipitate the entrance of Jessica Drew, who was the worst character in the film by a country mile and didn't even need to be in it. A pregnant Spider-Woman, race-changed pregnant Spider-Woman is just pathetic. In this, I know it's so many tick boxes. Oh my goodness me, much diversity and inclusion, but she served no purpose in the film, none whatsoever. But when they got that out of the way, Miguel actually was a good character and an interesting character. And as Mola said, it was nice to have somebody who was serious, and Miles was relatively serious as well.
Yeah.
So I thought they worked quite well when they were in opposition to each other. I thought it was interesting that Gwen was siding with Miguel to begin with, and then changed later. I did not like in any capacity Peter B. Parker. None. I haven't seen the first film. I've been told that he's had some good character growth. Well, for somebody who hasn't seen the first film, to see this man parading around in a pink dressing gown and pink slippers with a baby attached to him was ridiculous. We know why he's being held back, because if we had a full-fledged Peter Parker, people would be more interested in Peter Parker than Miles Morales, because that's a fact. Because wherever you go, whatever merchandise you buy, it says Miles Morales. It doesn't say Peter Parker Spider-Man, it says Spider-Man. But when it's Miles Morales, it's Miles Morales Spider-Man. Because the character shouldn't even be Spider-Man. It should be a completely different character. Because if, let's say he was called I'm just, just throwing a name out there to be silly, but let's just say he was the Arachnid or something like that. It would work far better as a character. But because they want to make him a derivative version of a much popular, probably the most popular superhero on the planet, it's never going to work. He's never going to be the best. So he has to be his own person, and he's being held back by having Spider-Man attached to him, because I thought the character was well written, and I thought Miles was well done. Sure, they needed to cut down on the family scenes a wee bit. We got what was going on. You didn't need them to go on for that long. They should have cut down that school scene by 90%. We didn't need all of that extra stuff. We get what's going on. So his interactions with Gwen were great. His relationship with Gwen, I thought, was great. His father, with his mother, they're good relationships. They feel like legitimate characters. His problem is Spider-Man, and it needs to go. I feel like it's more of a direction of we will force you to accept him as Spider-Man, when Miles Morales could be anything. He could be his own character. You actually have, from their own diversity and inclusion perspective, you have an original character, or could have an original character that ticks the boxes that you want to tick. But you want to shoehorn him into another franchise because you don't think he can stand up on his own. I think this film shows he can stand up on his own and doesn't necessarily need to have Spider-Man attached to him. He could be connected to the Spider-Verse. He can be connected to Spider-Man. There's nothing wrong with that. We've got Robins, we've got Batgirls, we've got Nightwings. We've got all of that sort of business in other universes for other characters. There's no reason why he couldn't be a connective point to Spider-Man. But as Spider-Man, just not for me. Go for something original. Miguel, Miguel gets away with it because Miguel's in 2099. That's a completely different time. So he kind of gets away with that. And some of the meta stuff kind of bores me a bit, but there was some funny moments here and there, and there were some nice references, and I really did enjoy the Lego Spider-Man bit. I thought that was superb. That did gave me a little pop in the cinema. I was like, in the cinema. But all in all, I came out with a very positive vibe about it. It was frustrating that this could have been a better film. So I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. It's good. It was good. It's a good solid 7 out of 10 film. But it could have been better if they allowed Miles to be himself and not somebody else. I think that would have allowed for better storytelling. I think that would have allowed for better discovery, self-discovery, and him and Gwen could do some really good stuff together, whether it be as boyfriend, girlfriend, whether it be as friends, whatever it may be. They worked well with each other. They bounced off each other very well indeed. Yeah. So yeah, all in all, good. And it had the potential to be better, but I think they held themselves back. They tied their own hands. By the way, Spot was excellent. I love the way that the villain started off goofy, and you initially think, oh, we've got another, throwaway villain just to show that Miles is great. I get it. You do that. But the way that he actually grew not just in power, but in confidence, because of the power that he was accumulating, and because he was able to understand and control his powers more. I thought by the end of the film, he felt like he was coming across as a legitimate threat that can really cause some problems in the next one. So yeah, the spot was really, really good.
Well, I think the tendency is always to go in really hard with the antagonist to make them right off the bat establish them as a real threat, to just build up that fact that they're going to be a real challenge to the protagonist. And yeah, it's interesting that they went the opposite direction and started him out, like you say, kind of goofy, just a villain of the week. And he's so determined to prove Peter wrong, or sorry, to prove Miles wrong, that he ultimately becomes this like world-ending threat. So that was cool. And yeah, from Melodic Method here says, to follow on Azzy's point, imagine a story of Miles Morales becoming his own superhero. It could be a moving story about character growth.
Yes.
Yeah, rather than letting yourself get defined by like the label of Spider-Man, I suppose.
And I think this absolutely had the potential to do that. I mean, I think it'd be wonderful at the end of the next film if Miles became his own character, became, you know, the arachnid, whatever, became his own character. I think that would show tremendous growth with him.
What about you, Dark Arrow? How did you find it?
Well, thank you for leaving me so much to work with there with that one. That was a lot of I'll be brief, because that was, you know, everything that was said was pretty much what I was feeling. I think that and this is pretty much a standard across the board for any movie, but especially Disney movie. Pacing seems to be terrible for everything nowadays. That first, I don't know, it was maybe like 15-20 minutes where it was exclusively just Gwen. That felt like they probably should trim that down right off the bat. That takes some of the time out. And then they like put like a graphic up as the start. I was like, that was the intro. Like it was like a 20-minute intro. That felt like it took forever. I did love in that whole sequence the fact that they like pulled they pulled Vulture from the like the Renaissance era, and he was like on parchment paper. I thought that was really cool. Like the visuals are always awesome with these movies. It's kind of a mixed bag for me when it comes to the like the referencing. Like I did chuckle a little bit at the Earth 99999, you know, them making fun of Multiverse Madness and Spider-Man No Way Home. But then there's a couple other references that I'm just like, whatever. I did think that they did a pretty good job of being relatively concise with explaining their multiversal problems. It didn't take the whole movie to explain that. It was pretty much like a quick few minutes, and you understood. And they did, in a way, they did kind of trim it down. And what I mean by that is, up to this point, all these multiversal things have been the entire multiverse. Every universe has a problem if something goes wrong here. For this one, it was if you create a problem within that one, it kind of pockets itself out and it's no longer part of it. So it's not really like, I mean, they did say that if you do too many of them, it could cause a domino effect. But they did do their best, I felt, to kind of make it feel a little bit smaller, which is, I understand, is almost impossible with universal threats. The canon events, like the Nexus event things, like that whole thing, I thought was pretty well done, because that's actually a reference to the comics that, like, they've said in Marvel Comics, like, Uncle Ben always has to die. He has to stay dead. That's like so that's a good thing that they kind of stuck with that. One gag that I thought was hilarious was the Comics Code Authority stamp in the beginning, which was like, like anybody who's a big fan of comics gets a chuckle out of that, because everybody knows that they hate that. Like any writer in the comics world hates that. But yeah, for the most part, I enjoyed it. There were parts that dragged for me. There were a lot of, I do think that this was kind of designed in a almost like a Super Mario Brothers way, where they want you to look for all the Easter eggs and go back to rewatch it to look for all the Easter eggs. But you know, for the most part, I was able to pick out things that I thought were pretty cool. Like I thought one of the funniest parts in the entire movie was the when they had like the therapist who's like very jaded, and like he's like, oh yeah, let me guess, your Uncle Ben died, and it's like, yeah, of course they all did. But yeah, for the most part, I enjoyed it. I'd probably agree with that 7 out of 10. Could have been better, but compared to a lot of other things that have come out of this like general sphere of Marvel and Spider-Man, all this stuff, it did pretty well for what it was. I do think the first one was significantly better, though.
It's funny, the amount of hype around this movie and just the love for these two films is really almost rabid. It's like dealing with Snyder fans in the sense that, like, the first one was a pretty good movie. I think most of us would acknowledge that. It was a good, fun movie. But it's like, because it's a decent Spider-Man film and it's, you know, at a time when comic book movies are kind of sputtering and dying, the amount of like defensiveness around these films,
it's like #1 movie of all time across loads of lists. It's just like, whoa.
Yeah, basically. And it's like, if you pick apart any aspect of it, it's like you're vilified. You know, I was like, oh, you just hate everything. It's like, well, calm down. It's like, I'm saying it's good. I'm just saying there's a few little things that I might have done differently, or it could have been done better.
Also, I'm happy to be unpopular on this one. Am I the only one that didn't like the memification of Uncle Ben's death? I actually don't like the fact that we came across this therapy scene where he's like, I'm so sad, and he's like, let me guess, your uncle died. I was like,
no, I thought that was silly. I didn't like that bit.
I think I was okay with it in the sense that, like, this canon event of losing someone that you really care about is treated as very serious. And, you know, you get to see different variations of it, and one of them is Uncle Ben, and it's not played for laughs there. It's just, like, later on, that one throwaway scene is just used as, like, okay, like, we've all experienced this loss of a person close to us, and so that was the joke, I thought, rather than specifically making fun of Uncle Ben getting killed. So I was all right with it. Yeah, if it had been consistently played as a gag throughout the film, then yeah, I would have said it was disrespectful.
I don't think you should. I just don't think you should mock that when it is intrinsic to the character. You don't see the Martha Wayne and Thomas Wayne deaths mocked like that. You know, I know you got a multiverse. I know you got all these different Spider-Men. Maybe find something else to, or maybe just don't make the joke. Sometimes
there's so many jokes you could make. Like, I had to fight, you know, a thing the other, and then they're like, let me guess, a goblin? Was he green? Something like that.
Yeah. I think that would have worked better.
But going for Uncle Ben seems like, to me, felt a bit mean spirited even, and even I don't like seeing the fucking layers of Uncle Bens in the parallel universes. Things being like, this is a canon. I guess are you guys all chill with the whole canon events thing? I think it's silly as fuck.
It's like Doctor Who, fixed points in time.
Yeah, nexus points.
Yeah, exactly. It's a plot device for this to say there's certain things that have to happen to you know, make you into what you need to be, I suppose.
Okay, I think though that even the film itself wasn't very comfortable with that idea, which is why part of the resolution is that maybe they're not fixed points in time and we don't need to do any of this, and really they're only there because without them we don't have a motive for our anti-hero.
Well, I think is it not true how much this evolves into serious problems, because as funny reference Doctor Who, the reason that can work is because time travel is intrinsic to the characters like goals. They can see the future, the spider people. Do you know how much that insanely changes absolutely everything? You shouldn't, as Miles Morales, when you find out they say your dad's going to die in 2 days, your reaction shouldn't be, no, I have to stop my dad from dying. It should be, our fates are written. We can't, like, what the fuck? That should blow your mind completely. That, like, all of you, your stories are written. It's like, what?
Well, is it not central to the whole balance of Spider-Man as a character that he, in order to be a hero, he has to make a lot of personal sacrifices and suffer personal loss. That's the essence of his comic book character. And so I guess they're just trying to go with that here, and they're trying to explore, like, well, what happens if you take that element away from him? What does he become then? And, you know, presumably they're going to set up some kind of pathos moment of he's tried so hard to avoid this thing, but ultimately it's inevitable no matter what happens. It's like something that he loves dearly has to be lost in order for him to carry on being a hero.
The characters in the film aren't doing it so that everyone has, you know, effective character growth and good learn and change. It's that they don't want the multiverse to crack apart.
Well, I know, but I assume that's just a plot device in this case to say, like, well, if you don't do this, then, like, literally the entire universe that you inhabit will just implode. And so there's a pretty strong incentive to have to go with it. And again, it's like, it's making a sacrifice. It's like, well, okay, I have to lose someone I care about deeply in order for, like, reality to continue.
Okay. So think about the fact that huge building is dropping on. I forget which dimension they're in, right? But it's the Spanish Spider-Man, right? he's like the big buildings falling on people, and there's
Mumbai
thousands screaming and all this stuff. And then, of course, we discover that one of the deaths in there is a canon event. It has to happen. I thought that was already strange because all of the spider people were from different dimensions that, by being there, have in some way caused that event to happen the way that it is. But we'll ignore that for a second. I think it's really interesting that all of these alternate dimension Spider-Man, it is fine with canon that they save everybody who would have died if they weren't there, but not, I think it was Lieutenant Singh was the character.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really, really strange. I don't know how you could possibly figure that out or justify it. And then the fact that they all know that if he doesn't die, that will potentially punch a hole in the multiverse, but they don't tell Miles this in the middle of the fight. And Gwen even hesitates, and I was just like, well, you guys believe, right, that him dying will save everyone else. So why aren't you putting more effort into this? It's so strange. And it just strikes me as because everybody there isn't sure whether or not that's even true. And it's like, damn, guys, like I don't see how this whole organization hasn't fallen apart. I don't really, like, I like the idea of Spider-Punk. I don't get how he got hired. He's like entirely against the whole system and betrays them in the most significant parts. Like, why would Miguel bring on Spider-Punk? He's like the most unreliable one of them all.
I mean, they literally had a sentient car driving around hitting people, so I don't think their hiring practices are very good. As long as they have spider powers, it seems like
in this place, there seems to be like thousands upon thousands of Spider-Men. Like, there's every possible variation of them, and like I don't know, I'm not sure what the criteria are for bringing them into this whole organization.
From what I can gather,
I very cruelly, selfishly, and meanly interrupted Platoon's take. I feel bad. I was just gonna re-offer him a chance to get back in, and then.
No worries. I mean, you have watched this film more closely than I have. I didn't really have a huge amount to add because everything has mostly been said. I agree with Az on Miles Morales, and perhaps it being, it would have been better to have him as his own standalone character properly without attaching him to the reputation of somebody else. I think that's a good point. Against that, and it's not really against it, but it's a side consideration. I didn't mind. In fact, I kind of liked the fact that in the first film in particular, it bucked the trend of so much modern media when it comes to marketing a new, say, African-American character or a character of any minority at all. You see, it bucks the Wakanda trend. This is not an us versus them type character. I liked the fact that in the end his moral lesson was essentially, look, you are a Spider-Man, and Spider-Men, no matter where they come from, no matter what their backgrounds, no matter what their particulars, all have this same character set. Their moral goodness and their moral virtue comes in their strength as an individual. They will try hard, they are prepared to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. And it's kind of a fairly universalist tale, and I liked the fact that, as against so much modern media which emphasizes difference in that way, they could exploit the fact that he was aspiring to the mantle of Spider-Man to make him much more applicable universally as opposed to sort of race essentially. And I thought that was quite a strong message in that film, and that's one of the things I liked about it more than I would have done had the rest of media not been quite so shit. Of the second film, I think that there's an element of paint by numbers that goes on with it as well. So obviously in the first film you have, is it Kingpin's backstory is that he loses his family, and that's sort of partly his motive for doing stuff. Well, that's a trial run, because in this one it's Miguel, and that's his motive for doing stuff is because he lost his family. That they'd done that before. There's a number of things that they had already done in the first film that sort of come back in this one just because that's what we do now. I think one of the reasons it's liked better than so much that's around it, one of the reasons it does get such a high reception compared to everything else, is that even if it is paint by numbers, which I think it is to a large degree, they have still identified basic core components of story and character work that have worked before. And so rather than trying to really subvert expectations, upset apple carts, whatever the cliche is you want to use, they have at least acknowledged that these are basic character mainstays for a reason. These make for popular stories, they make for popular characters, so we might as well throw them in. I think it is done with a little bit of a sense of obligation as opposed to really understanding them or making them fit within a proper narrative, well-paced and all the rest of it. But again, it's better than everything around it, which maybe drives up people's appreciation of the film. I agree with the complaints about pacing. I think it was probably too long. And then going back on what I said earlier about Miles Morales being a universalist character in the first one, I think this one is a little bit more particular in irritating ways. So you have, I can't remember any of their names, the Indian Spider-Man complaining about the British stealing all of India's relics and stuff, and the punk guy says he's fighting fascists by day. I don't know if you've been to London since the 1980s, but like all the punks have grown up and started businesses and moved to the suburbs, and there are no fascists left in that city. It's a very left-wing place. It dates it in a way, and it does make it a little bit more kind of irritating. It's the kind of particular exclusionary joke that I think the first film by and large avoided. So that slightly annoyed me. But otherwise, yeah, I don't have a huge amount of very deep thoughts on this one. It keeps driving me to do other things, as I said at the beginning.
Well, fair play. I think we had a decent round table of everyone's opinions on that one. I don't want to go like totally into the an in-depth review of it because I think everyone's kind of given their opinions on it. So
one thing, Drinker,
yes,
they actually kind of did explain their like criteria for pick. I think anybody with spider powers is part of that organization. The only reason why Miles was not allowed in is because he's an anomaly. So he's the whole thing is that they're the anti-anomaly group, right? So he's and they mentioned that he's the original anomaly, or at least the most. I would
remember
assume.
What do they do once they realize he's not on board?
Murder him.
Well, yeah, they all go after him. Yeah.
Well, they attempt to capture him, and which, by the way, that talk about fucking plot contrivances. 1,000 Spider-Mans versus Miles Morales, and he wins. I doubt it.
Well, it's the fact that the containment field is like he can just breach that with his electric suit, and that's it. Like,
yeah, his power.
It really seems like it's a bit flawed.
Yeah, a little bit. But all I'm highlighting is just that if you're not with the program, they boot you. I don't know why Miguel would have kept Spider-Punk around. All he does is shit on the entire project.
Yeah.
Well,
comic relief.
Probably every time I went to go fire him, he just left. It seemed like that was his thing. Every time things happened, he would just like fuck off.
Because then they boot Gwen for incompetence.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, they take her thing away, her bracelet thing.
Yeah, and then of course the one that she gets is from Spider-Punk, so it all comes full circle for what Mahler's talking about.
Well, that's why I'm highlighting it. Obviously, I am more than excited to see the final. We're pretty much in spoilers, aren't we?
Yeah,
we are. Yeah, spoil away.
I was very sad not to see the Spider-Man Noir, but we'll be getting him next movie. Obviously.
Yeah, well, you see him just he shows up. So that's
I do
good.
think that this movie was actually harmed by the fact that it was predetermined to be 2 parts. It felt like the end felt so like rushed to get to like this specific spot that we can leave off at. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It just kind of stops abruptly.
I never knew it was to be continued. So
I don't think they really announced it.
Me and my mate are watching this, and something actually happens at the end. I'm like, oh, okay, this is quite interesting. And then it just goes to be continued, and we're like, my mate's just like, what?
So Metal was telling me that in his cinema, he first of all didn't know it was a part 1, which is that happens. But apparently, he said people in my cinema did not know either. He got like several people saying, "What the fuck?"
Some people are saying they did.
It's not a great ending either, because I've heard some of the more highfalutin reviewers have said, "Well, it's such a great sequel. As a part 2, it's on a par with the likes of Empire Strikes Back or Spider-Man 2 back in the day." And I'm thinking, well, no, for a host of other reasons, but also those things knew how to finish a second part of a 3-part film trilogy. This one sort of didn't. It just cut itself because, well, we're already around 2 hours time and we have to save some material for next time. I didn't think, the pacing overall was, I think, an issue, but that ending, the very abrupt cliffhanger ending, I think, was not executed as well as they might have done it.
It genuinely feels like they had a really good script for 1 movie and they just wanted to spin it out into 2. And that's why, 1, it feels sluggish, and 2, it just kind of stops rather than having like a satisfying story with payoffs that then feeds into the next one. It just kind of, it's like they just chopped it in half. It's like
they did a sub-villain to beat for this movie, because halfway through this film we start setting up the big deal, which is that he's got to stop his dad from dying, or he's going to cause the end of the multiverse. He's against the Spider-Man, blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's all of the drama, and they develop it forward, and then we cut off. Instead of maybe, there's a grand story, but then there's a mini-boss, so to speak, and he defeats that mini-boss and then discovers something, and then we end. Not quite the way they did it.
Yeah. yeah,
I get it. I understand why people felt the way. I was fine with it. It might be because I wasn't as passionately into the movie. So I was just kind of like, I know it's ending somewhere around here, and I guess, oh, we'll probably do some reveals. Ah, there you go. That's the reveal. Okay, and now it ends. There you go. But I understand completely why people feel the people feel outraged about it, I guess. I don't know.
So I did actually. So it was a little weird for me because, like, I liked the way that they went about the reveal of him. We are in spoiler territory, right? I can say it. Okay.
Yep, go for it.
All right. The fact that the way they revealed that he was in the wrong universe. Because, like, if you're paying attention, you're like, wait a minute, that didn't make sense. The number didn't match up. Like, there's very subtle little things as you go along, but it all plays out sort of normal at first. So that was actually part of the end that was well done. That was that's a pretty good way to write a twist like that. And then they just sped it up so quickly for the cliffhanger. It felt like it was very jarring to go from a well-written twist to such an abrupt cliffhanger like that.
It was a little bit of a sort of soap opera kind of hackneyed, oh my god, like shocking revelation, and then cut to black, But
how did it happen? I think I may have missed it. I don't know if you guys.
I got it. So it was because his DNA is altered by the spider from that universe. It read his what do they call it? It was like the send home machine or whatever. It was like the dumbest name in the history.
It registered his.
It registered his DNA as the wrong dimension. That's why he got sent to the wrong one.
Yeah, so he basically got sent to the dimension that the spider came from.
Yeah, got sent to the dimension.
So the part I'm confused about, didn't Miguel and the other two Spider-Men follow him into his universe, or did they follow him into his correct universe? The 42 universe or his own universe?
I think they follow him into his universe because they're at minimum. I know that Jessica Drew was in that one.
Because they can track him, right?
Because they can, but I know that Jessica Drew at minimum was in that one because she was like doing surveillance on Gwen, who was in that that dimension. That's where it gets a little crazy. That's what I mean by, like, after the reveal officially happens, it starts to go off the rails a little bit. Like the lead up to him realizing where he's in the wrong place was great, and then it just immediately takes a hard left.
I thought it was confusing because I would have thought if they arrived in 42, then the command center lady would have told them that. She'd be like, "You're not in the universe that we found him in. You're in."
Well,
42
she clearly
right
she like had an opportunity to stop it from even happening, and she opted not to. So she's.
I didn't understand that either.
Yeah, that seemed a little weird to me. I was like, you're doing the exact thing that you've been trying to stop the entire movie. With none of she didn't even hear any of the speeches or anything about which side is right. She was off doing her own thing.
Isn't the whole point that the belief is Miles's belief, not other people's belief yet? That will come, I imagine, in the next film.
Well, yeah, he's going to inspire them all and stuff, but I don't know if that's going to work for me because I feel like these spider people should have come to these conclusions themselves. They shouldn't need Miles to do it.
You'd think.
But Miles is the most specialist Spider-Man ever, don't you know?
I think that will be the really irritating thing about the third film. If he's going to be proven right, and he has basically been proven right quite consistently so far, and he's proven right, and yes, their entire conception of how this multiversal thing works is wrong, and he alone has figured it out, or rather, his strength of character and will, which they're all supposed to have, but only he demonstrates, proves that he's right and everyone else is wrong. That will be a bit of a letdown, I think. I think the boldest move they could make... Yeah, the boldest move they could make, though, is to have it reversed, to have it actually shown to him that, no, you do have to sacrifice something at the end here. Your want to save everyone will not actually be realizable. That would be a bolder decision to make, and there would be a lot more emotional impact, I think, if he had to choose somebody in particular to sacrifice.
It's kind of what No Way Home went with. It's, I don't know if this film's going to do it. My expectation would be that Miguel is mistaken about how the multiversal rules work, how the canon events work. Yeah. That he jumped a conclusion or two. I do not know how they're going to make sense of Peter B. Parker and his involvement in the whole thing. I feel like he's not the same guy from the first movie. Granted, I know that as you haven't seen the first one, but I would defend his role in the first movie. It's quite an awesome arc. He's like a almost disenfranchised Spider-Man, but by the end of it, there's an arguable, like, he's a bit of a father figure to Miles in the first one. He's trying to teach him the ropes and help him understand what it means to do Spider-Man things. And then by the end of the film, he's like fully Spider-Man back in. So it's really weird to see him come back as this. And my first thought I had was just like, wow, they just had nothing for him, did they? Like they didn't have any goals. And I've seen the
then why bring him in? Just don't bring him in.
They need to ditch that fucking baby. Like they brought him in as a bit of a joke.
So this
that's kind of all he is.
Ultimate evidence for how this film is being absolutely love nuked is that I'm seeing people defend taking a baby into war.
Yeah, that was weird. That was a really weird.
It's one thing that like he was just popping in for like, you know, halfway through the movie when he shows up. It's like, well, he didn't expect anything like crazy to go down there, so it's like, okay, I can sort of live with that. But like, yeah, making that decision to then go off on a dangerous mission against an unknown enemy, where your chances of survival are dicey at best, like, and taking the baby with you when her fucking mum's in the next room.
Yeah.
What is the possible justification for that?
I have seen people say, and be upvoted for it, that first, the baby has superpowers, it doesn't matter. Second, the baby enjoys
your superpowers.
it. The baby enjoys it.
It's a baby.
There's a reason we don't like structure our lives to the whims of babies. They're fucking stupid. They don't know anything. This is the same line of thinking that had Lady Mormont like fucking leading troops into battle at Winterfell in Game of Thrones. She's like fucking 12 years old. Fuck off.
She got killed, so
she did get killed, yeah, but why did anyone even listen to her in the first place? You're a child. You can't command an army.
She would have had a general for that business.
Those are the first two reasons. The third one they listed was that there's a lot the baby can learn by going out and doing these sorts of things.
Yeah, they can. This is projection. This is like desperate reaching.
To me, I was just like, "Oh shit, nobody's thinking clearly about
just
this film."
one person just have the fucking like mental fortitude to say, "Yeah, no father, no responsible father would take his baby willingly into an extremely dangerous situation like that. Doesn't matter if the baby's got superpowers. Doesn't matter if the baby's really fired up about going on an adventure. Fucking put the baby to bed. Leave it with its mum, and you go and do your hero thing." But no, we have to have him in his. We have to have him in his pink bathrobe with his baby strapped to his chest because it makes him look like a bit more of a pussy, and he's a bit more of a jokey comic character that we're just supposed to laugh at. Because God forbid you would just get a serious Peter B. Parker in this movie.
I think that might have been the greatest line ever. Babies are stupid. Don't take them into battles.
Yeah.
Well, you saw the landings on D-Day, you know, Operation Overlord. They were piling out those ships with fucking babies on them.
But, you know, you get those, like, jokey books, like How to Bond with Baby and stuff, and it'll just be, like, playing little games with it, and how not to do it, and it's, like, you know, taking it to a bar or something. You know, it's like that. It's like How to Look After Baby. Don't take it to a war.
It's a totally new idea of what women and children first means, I think. But it's like the learning from experience is just like fire is hot. Here, baby, I'm going to throw you in the fire. That's how you learn. Is not a sense. I think the massive problem with it though is that because it comes at such a pivotal point in the film as well, this is supposed to be one of the most dramatic elements. This is when Mars has been told this devastating news, and the reason he's running away to begin with is that this is, it's a huge revelation. It's really impactful. What you don't really want from that is to undermine it by whiplashing people back to this vague sense of wishy-washy comedy that has no real stakes. And that is a problem all the way through the film. Even in, is it the first scene with Gwen when she's fighting the is it the Falcon guy? What's the character's name? The
Vulture.
Da Vinci Vulture guy. I always get those two confused. And, he pins her up against the wall and gets the claws out, and for all she knows, she's going to die, and her response is a really dismissive kind of, oh no. And then she's saved by someone she doesn't know is actually coming to help her. That's a problem all the way through the film. They have these high-stakes moments that just have to be undermined by quirky comedy.
Well, you summed up perfectly. The scene where Peter resolves to go and help Miles. He's looking over his baby in the crib, and you think this is the point where he's going to shed the bathrobe, and he's gonna have his Spider-Man outfit underneath, and it's like, he's back, baby. He's getting serious now. Yeah. It's like, nope. Straps the baby to his chest, and off he goes. Fuck you. Fuck you, whoever wrote that. I despise this bullshit.
With the Army of Spider-Man scene, I was like, it's really bad that he's taking the baby to this alone, but I can't believe I'm saying this. At least he was rushing to get to Miles to tell him what he thinks he needs to hear to not end up getting hurt, sort of thing. But I still don't buy that you take your baby to that. But then at the end, when he was, I was like, you can't be fucking. He took the baby like it was his shotgun. Like, what are you doing? Like,
this is absolute nonsense. Anyway, allow me to move on just briefly. I started this by saying that Across the Spider-Verse has done very well at the box office. One movie that hasn't done quite so well has been The Little Mermaid. We talked last week on Open Bar saying it would be quite interesting to see how the second weekend got on, you know, because then we'd have a clearer picture of how this movie's shaping up internationally. And so I can tell you, after being out for 2 weeks now, it's now sitting at 338 million worldwide. That's not looking good. I think at this rate, it's going to be very lucky to get anywhere near 500 million. We've got some big movies coming out in the next week or two. You know, we've got The Flash coming out. Obviously, Across the Spider-Verse has already made a huge impact. This is just going to get pushed right out.
It's Flash, Indiana Jones, Mission Impossible, almost back to back. Almost back to back.
So, I mean, this has kind of had its 2 weeks to make a real impact, and it's it's made a ripple rather than a tidal wave. And I'm gutted. I know we're all upset about this, but yeah, we did say we would check in on it after 2 weeks to see how it was doing, and this is where we're at. So, yeah.
It's purely racism.
Well, we know that, obviously.
Because people decided, hey, we're not going to watch this Black Mermaid film. We're going to watch this Black Spider-Man film. And that's racism.
Yes, it clearly is, yeah. Internalized or something. I don't know how the.
Well, I'm actually surprised they haven't tried to spin it into sexism. Now, that's actually one thing. Like that's really, but like I'm shocked that hasn't been a thing. Like, oh no, clearly it wasn't racism, it was sexism that was the problem all along.
I mean, what's so impressive about it? It's made more in the United States than it has in the whole rest of the world combined.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it absolutely tanked in China. I haven't checked up on the last sort of few days worth, but I think the top estimation for its overall earnings didn't actually go above, is it $5 million or $7 million? It was really, really low, because they just don't give a shit. I mean, they're more likely to eat mermaids or use them in weird medicine than they are to watch them, apparently. Yeah. But they had that weird episode where the Chinese Communist Party of all organizations comes out and tells Disney, stop pushing your race narratives because no one wants them. So I never thought I would find myself agreeing with the Chinese Communist Party, and I don't want anything else. But you know, are they entirely wrong?
No, it's a scary day when you're like, holy shit, I back China on this, and I live in the West.
3.8 million.
3.8, I think, is what they're saying here. It's not verified. This was just someone in chat, but it could be about right. But then, you've got movies like Fast 10, which has done pretty well in China, and a very diverse cast that's in that. It's almost like they just actually want fun movies that they can enjoy, and
I'm sure it's racist.
Delivers. I'm sure it somehow. Yeah, it'll be something to do with that. Who knows?
Isn't that a contradiction based China?
That's 0.0029 cents per person in China, by the way. So they haven't even reached a penny per person in China.
Not great. No. But yeah, I mean, it's looking like its final box office tally is going to have a 4 in front of it, which is when you look at all the other Disney live action movies, like a lot of them have hit over $1 billion. So this is disastrous.
I think Mission Impossible is going to hit $1 billion.
Oh, I think so.
I think it's going to it's going to have the wave of Tom Cruise. Same thing as Maverick.
He's like on fire at the moment.
Oh yeah, it's really awesome. I want it to be good.
I don't think Batman will, and I don't think Indiana Jones will, but I think Mission Impossible will.
I think Indiana Jones could be sitting around 500 mil.
That would be like a $250 million loss too. That would be fucking terrible.
Because this movie is expensive as fuck. This is like, I think they spent about 350 million on this.
How did that weird film, the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls or whatever, do? How much did that make?
That's actually a good point.
I want to say it's 700 something or 800.
Yeah, I think we said on B-Sub it made like 750.
790 it was.
Dude, Indiana Jones's name was run through the fucking mud with that film, even. So, like, and you add another, what, 15 years? I don't know, man.
15 years, terrible reviews with the critics after the release at the Cannes Film Festival.
Yes,
and
that's
general, and general audience antagonism towards it. Because everything Disney related seems to be floundering at the moment. So
I have something positive to say about The Little Mermaid, though.
Whoa.
I don't think Transformers is going to affect it in any way.
But the Crystal Skull, I mean, if I'm right in thinking so, George Lucas thought it worth going back and dragging Steven Spielberg against his better judgment to go and do Crystal Skull. And that's the story we got. And as far as I understand, neither of them are involved in this one. So if Kingdom of the Crystal Skull gets the creators of the character more interested than the fifth film does, I don't really understand why the audience is likely to have any higher estimation of the fifth film either, if the original creators... It's like the Matrix Resurrections thing. You only got one of the Wachowski sisters back to do it. So why the hell should the audience be expected to care about this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this...
Wachowski's sister?
Yes, they transitioned. Both of them. The Wachowski siblings. We just go with that.
I'm playing it safe, but yeah.
So you're telling me that The Matrix was more successful when it was made by a man?
You might think that. I couldn't possibly comment.
I'm just asking questions. That's all.
Well, anyway, I was going to move on a little bit, but before I did, I was this blew my mind when I saw it just yesterday. It's pictures of New York at the moment, and I think it might have cleared up a little bit, but in the wake of like wildfires that have spread across Canada, New York looks like something out of Blade Runner. I mean, take a look.
Oh yeah.
This is what New York looked like yesterday.
Can confirm. I work literally right across the bridge from New York. Can confirm. Looked exactly like that.
I mean, this is a dystopian nightmare. Yeah. It's like it's been nuked or something.
There was a great image. So it started actually 2 days ago with all this. It wasn't quite this bad until yesterday, but somebody had taken a picture of the big billboard for the Diablo 4 release, and it said, "New York, welcome to hell," with all this smoke billowing into the back. I was like, this is viral marketing on another level, man. I can't even begin to understand.
Do you think there's groups of people out there who are like, I don't know, film interested, but have never quite gotten the bug for it, who are like, we could record in this, and we could argue our film is like taking place in a sci-fi world.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of a quick and easy way to do it.
It's like, hurry, get us a script, go.
Yeah, I mean, just chat GPT it. Just be like, fires in Canada,
in a world,
smoke in New York. Give me a script. Done.
But it's just, like when you saw sci-fi movies set in like the 2020s, and it seemed like this crazy far off time where you're going to have advanced technology and everything, and we're here, and it's like, nah, everything's just still pretty normal. Like, there's nothing particularly impressive. But then you see stuff like this, and you're like, well, this is the horrifying, like, atmospheric collapse that we expected in sci-fi movies. So we're getting that at least. So yeah, looks great. Nice.
They all said it was going to be evil capitalistic megacorporations that did it, but in fact it was Canada. So
yeah,
blame Canada. That's the thing, isn't it? I faintly recall that from South Park. I think someone in National Review did jokingly demand environmental reparations from Canada, given that they bang on about it all the time themselves. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
I've always liked the idea that we're in the boring dystopia. We're in one, but it's just it's kind of lame. It's like you wouldn't see this one portrayed in a movie.
I will tell you, I mean, like, it was just such, like, driving through it home, because I live literally, like I said, right across. I work right across the bridge. I live not far from New York City. It was one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had, driving through just smoke the whole way home. I was just like, I never thought that situation that's very common in like California. It never happens on the East Coast, so it was very.
Is it as orange as it looks there?
It was pretty bad orange. I mean, I wasn't in New York City specifically, but like where I was, it was pretty orange. So I can only imagine it would be worse in a place where it gets trapped by high buildings like that. So
Orange Man bad.
It's Orange Man bad.
Trump's taking over. Look at it.
But he won't be able to do any campaign stump speeches in New York. Not that he would be doing them anyway, but you wouldn't be able to see him. He's perfectly camouflaged if he were to do that.
Manhattan gets fake tan.
Somebody in the chat was asking if people were wearing masks. I actually optionally did it because the smell was terrible. It was really bad.
Put a gas mask on, get out, do some filming, edit into a film, ADR over it.
At least take all of the shots so that you got it ready in case you one day need it or something. I don't know. There's got to be people out there using it. I'd have to imagine. Opportunistic little auteurs. I could trust that they could create something incredible. I wonder if bigger studios would want to use it. Or would they be like, no, it's going to be regulation shit to have to deal with.
There are certain directors, though, who get paid an awful lot of money and their entire artistic vision seems to be putting filters on cameras.
Yeah.
And they've just recreated it naturally here. They'll be out of a job.
That's what I mean. I feel like it saves money, but you know, what I know.
This is to stop so the writer strike went, and they're trying to stop the production strike by being like, look, we'll just put the filters up for you naturally. You're gonna do it yourselves.
Anyway, I just I wanted to just show that just because it was so striking. I just thought, yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, but well, okay. Apparently, it's clearing up a little bit now. But anyway,
somebody had asked me what I'm drinking.
Oh yeah, what you got there?
I have Espolon tequila, and I did like a ghetto ass Paloma. That's basically what I made.
Very nice. Yeah, I've never been too much of a tequila drinker. Usually, I just break it out when like I'm halfway through a night out, and it's like, yeah, we need a quick boost of drunkenness.
It's literally the only thing I like. It's the weirdest thing. People make fun of me for it all the time. They're like, how can you don't like beer? You don't like whiskey? You don't like any of this? I was like, yeah, but tequila. And they're like, you're weird. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm aware.
I don't mind a good margarita if there's one available. It's just a pain in the arse to make.
Yeah. Well, Paloma is basically like a margarita, but with like grapefruit rather than lime and lemon base. There's some lime in there, but
okay. But yeah, I mentioned there we obviously discussed Indiana Jones 5 shaping up to be a bit of a failure. It does bring to mind a bigger thing that's been swirling around Lucasfilm and Disney at the moment. When it relates to finance. I was hesitant even to bring this up because it seems so ridiculous that it can't possibly happen. But there's a lot of rumors going around that Disney is considering selling Lucasfilm. Particularly because they have a very large bill that they apparently are owing Comcast for their share of Hulu. And it really goes into the billions of dollars. Like, this is a massive deal, and they don't necessarily have the money they need to be able to pay it off. And so people have suggested that they might actually be inclined to sell off Lucasfilm. Now, as I say, normally I would just dismiss this out of hand as just a ridiculous rumor, but there's a little part of me, right, that thought it's worth considering this. And I say this because look at what Lucasfilm produces and what franchises they have available for you to, to make money off of. There's Star Wars, which I think we'd all agree here is pretty much dead in the water. Like, they're not in a position to make money off Star Wars now. The TV shows, no one cares, and they're not generating much revenue in terms of Disney Plus subscriptions. They haven't made a new movie in like what, 3-4 years? It was like Rise of Skywalker was what, 2019?
19.
Yeah, the end of 2019.
So it's been 4 years, and it's going to be several more years before any of these ones that have been announced are going to see the light of day, if they ever do. And I think we could pretty much guarantee they're not going to be successful anyway. And Indiana Jones was the last major thing that they have, and that's probably going to lose money for them as well. With the insane budget on this thing, there's no way it's going to make that back. Oh yeah, and there was Willow. That went down great. So it does make me think, right? If you've got this studio, this IP, right, with a bunch of franchises in it that you can't make money out of, what is the point in having it? Is there something to be said for just cutting your losses and saying, screw it, we'll just sell it? I don't know. It's an interesting one.
I don't think so while Kathleen Kennedy's in charge. Because
interesting. How much longer will that be?
Well, I hear she's due to leave any day now.
Did you get that from reliable sources?
Yeah. Do those reliable sources wear
reliable sources? Reliable sources, barbecue and ketchup. So I don't think, while Kathleen Kennedy's there, I don't think they will, because it will be seen as an abject failure. But when her contract runs out, which I believe is next year now, when her contract runs out, it depends whether or not they feel as if there's any life left in the franchise. At the minute, it's dead. It is absolutely dead. When a company who ran a franchise into the ground with its sequel trilogy couldn't make a movie because of the failure of the sequel trilogy, then announces that their return to the cinema, which will be 6 years after the failure of the sequel trilogy, will have the lead character of the sequel trilogy, you have got to say to yourself, you've just literally, never mind shooting yourself in the foot, you've just shot yourself in the head. Because there is not a chance in hell that this movie is going to be popular, not a chance in hell that this is going to make money. Nobody cared about Kenobi. Nobody cared about Kenobi. Everyone's going to bring Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan. He'll save it. But that was so bad. That show, so terrible, nobody cared. And what do we get? We've got 4 billion subscriber losses in the last quarter of for Disney Plus.
Million.
These shows are not 4 million. Yeah,
that would be very impressive.
That is a lot of 4 billion. 4 million lost in the last quarter. These shows are not bringing in subscribers. None of them. None of these shows are bringing them in. Yeah. There was I mean, I won't go to another company. Fuck it. Well, let's just stick with this one. But they're not bringing any money in with that. They're not going to bring any money in with the Rey movie. I'm absolutely pom-poms on cheerleading for them to do this, because I want to see Disney come back with Star Wars, Rey, older, wiser, Jedi Master, and it to just fall on its face. I'm all in. Can't wait.
Because the argument is often made about the MCU, for example. Well, wouldn't it have been better had they waited a good few years after Endgame to rebuild and build up anticipation and things like that? So you can see superficially how the arguments apply to Star Wars as well. We'll wait, we'll build up anticipation, and eventually we'll come back. It'll be brand new, and everyone will love it again.
But
that's completely no. They didn't stop because they keep doing the Disney Plus stuff, though. As already well established, Disney Plus doesn't really have wide audience appeal. But also, you're not really building up anticipation or trying to make a clean break with the past if, asAz says, you're going to make your next film have the head of the front woman of the sequel trilogy in the main role. That doesn't work particularly well. Against the argument for selling it, though, big businesses are often the slowest to recognize the sunk cost fallacy, and there are a huge number of things that they haven't tried yet, which I think they would try first before they went all the way and effectively nuked the company. And one of them would be changing the head of the company once Kathleen Kennedy is gone. I think they will give somebody else a good long run to try and turn it around. They might give a few people a good long run to try and turn it around. They haven't quite got to the desperation levels yet of bringing back familiar characters on the cinema screen as opposed to the TV screen. Obviously, they've been trying to do it with Disney Plus and it hasn't worked, but I think they will try and do it with a proper film series before they let the company go. And then there's who's going to buy it, because not very many people have the kind of money that you could possibly spend to, buy a company which is still.
I was going to say, I know one guy who
for a tenth of the money.
I mean, well, that's one of the rumors, and I think it's ludicrous. But again, it would be the absolute. Sometimes life is stranger than fiction, and it would just be the height of lunacy if he ended up buying it back at a massive discount and basically made like a couple of $1 billion for doing absolutely nothing.
That would be so funny.
I could see Disney though. Sorry, go on.
Because he decanonizes the sequel.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say.
Decanonizes it and puts a lock on any other film projects ever getting made ever. It's like perfect, George. Nature is healing.
Goodbye, Star Wars. We love you.
But yeah, to the point you made, Little Platoon, about building up the anticipation by waiting a few years. I think that only works if you went out on a high. It would worked with Marvel because Endgame was popular generally. Even you can debate the merits of that actual movie, but it was very popular with audiences. Rise of Skywalker wasn't, and so what you generally want to do is try and get you want to recover from a failure as quickly as possible rather than letting it fester, which is what they've done. And so like the huge gap that we've had in movie releases has absolutely worked to their detriment. I think when they come back with whatever garbage they've been able to shart out, with the Ray movie or the Dave Filoni effort, whatever, no one's going to care. They'll have forgotten about it. They'll have moved on.
Yeah, and that's the other aspect of it as well, which is that they haven't taken the time away to actually plan a coherent trilogy arc, for example. So that was one of the arguments for waiting, is that it gives you time to rework things, and then you can set a new vision in store, and you can plan out another sequel trilogy that reinvests people with the strength and the magic of the story. But their planned next 3 releases are 3 entirely separate timelines that don't interact with each other at all, with 3 different sets of characters. The Filoni film is going to be completely reliant upon the continuing success, which already is gone, of The Mandalorian and Ahsoka and the characters that he's building up. So that doesn't particularly work. In fact, of all of them, I would be surprised if that one got made, because there's no money value in making a cinematic film on TV properties that aren't making money themselves. So I wouldn't be entirely surprised to see that get shelved. And then there's the one that's set way back in time with the first ever Jedi, which can't possibly link into Rey, except insofar as, I don't know, well, they could probably magic some way of doing it, but I don't think it would. So they haven't even got a coherent vision for what they want to do with the thing. And then on the sidelines, you've got Taika Waititi still working on his. And have they officially cancelled Rian Johnson's one yet? Or is that in the permanent purgatory of Lucasfilm?
It's not officially cancelled.
They never officially cancel anything, though. They always just kind of like let people try to hopefully forget about it. And
Rogue Squadron isn't officially cancelled.
Yeah, good luck with that,
I'm
Patty.
still on board with a Rian Johnson trilogy. Do it, Disney. Do it. Go on.
I fucking dare you.
that would be the ultimate of doubling down.
I mean, it's interesting, their strategy as well, because you could tell that what they were trying to set up with things like Solo and Rogue One was they wanted to start having their own MCU of Star Wars movies. And so, like, you know, that's the model that allows you to make a shit zillion dollars. It's basically a money printing machine. It worked for Marvel, we're gonna do it with Star Wars, because there's a whole bunch of different stories we can tell, and we can have an interconnected plot line. It'll be fantastic. It failed miserably because the mainline movies ended up being garbage, and like it killed the momentum of any of the spin-off ones. And all they then tried to do was take that same model and port it over to TV and do it cheaper and quicker and shitter even than that. And so you end up with what you've got now with this whole myriad of stories. Some of them are disjointed and set in different time periods, like the Obi-Wan show, but then you've got other ones like The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka. They're all going to try and be part of this stupid interconnected MCU of Star Wars, which again failed miserably.
It did, but I mean, it's a complaint as old as time, which is that they began by ditching their own expanded universe. That was the first thing they did. So the equivalent with the MCU would be saying, we're going to make a cinematic universe based on Marvel Comics. The first thing we'll do is throw the entire history of comics on the bonfire, and then we're going to start it all over again. We'll reinvent the wheel and accidentally make it a square, and then we're going to put that on the screen and hope that it pulls people in. It was a weird decision to be made from the off, and then the sheer fucking hubris, to coin a phrase, of saying, well, there was no source material to draw on in Star Wars. It was like, that's only true because you destroyed all of it.
Yep.
Wade's dead. Get over it.
No, he was the best character.
Back.
I think I legit mean he was the best character in Obi-Wan.
So there was one thing in that back and forth that you mentioned about the like going out on a high being required for a comeback. I don't think that would be a huge thing if another company was to say buy this at a huge loss, a loss for Disney, because I think there would be like a surge of people being like, it's finally out of Disney's hands, maybe now it will be good. So I do think there would be a bump from that. Plus also like the prequels, whereas now we look at them as significantly better, you got to remember when they first came out and at the end of it, they weren't very well received at the time. And when they eventually The Force Awakens did come out, when they were all the build up to it, that was some of the biggest hype in Star Wars history. So I do think if another company was to buy it off of Disney, you might be able to get that hype back simply based on that.
I like the idea that, yeah, it's the scene from the end of Return of the Jedi, except instead of the Death Star being destroyed and all the people celebrating, it's Disney's gone. And then you got all the Ewoks dancing and all the people on Naboo are celebrating because the evil empire has finally been defeated.
Oh, do they put Kathleen Kennedy on a pillar and set it on fire?
If they sell Lucasfilm with Star Wars, with Indiana Jones, I will dress up as an Ewok and dance.
You heard it here, folks.
Someone
clip that.
Would it be a bald Ewok, or would you put the full hair? Would you go
How? Yes, of course it would.
But yeah, I do actually think that if someone was to buy it, there would be a bump just from people being happy that it was out of Disney's hands.
I mean, it kind of depends who buys it. Like, if
That's
it's Amazon
true,
or something like that.
Amazon,
like,
no.
Yeah, I guess what company has the money to really just pony up for that, though? That's the question.
I could see Amazon making, if it did go up for sale, I could see Amazon making a play.
Or Apple.
Apple's
Or Apple.
got the cash.
Yeah.
But I mean, Apple, they tend to actually be making interesting stuff at the moment. Amazon aren't. So
what I want to see is the showrunners for The Witcher put in charge of Star Wars, because I think they would really bring something interesting to the table there. I think we just destroyed Azzy's brain.
I mean, the guy just woke up from a nap. Don't do this to him.
You're gonna be okay, Az.
Are you excited for season 3, Az?
I'm very excited because I'm not going to watch it.
Wow, not a true
So
fan.
I'm ecstatic about it. Yeah, I'm done. I look. I barely got through season 1. Season 2, I was ready to throw it out the window. Nah, I'm good. I am just naturally done with the show. It's and I had to watch Blood Origin as well, for goodness sake.
I wonder if Henry Cavill's even going to watch it. He's
I
just like,
doubt
nah,
it.
done.
He would actually imagine the the views it would get if it was like him watching, like doing reactions live while watching it. It would be
And ripping it apart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Man, it would be fantastic. Someone out in the chat must know Henry Cavill. Get a hold of him.
As long as
Make
his
it happen.
non-disparagement clause is lapsed, like, yeah, I think he could go to town on it. It would be fantastic to see.
Henry's watching this stream right now. He's a big fan of me and Drinker, but he's a big fan of me
I know
more.
it.
So, Henry.
Well,
Do you
if
wanna
you're
pick
friends
the
with him,
Warhammer
you call them
figures, Ken?
Henners. All Henners. That's what we...
Yes,
Henners. I'll send you the link. You can come on.
I
chat
will
with
yield.
us.
I will yield my idea to you 100% because I just want to see it happen. No royalties required.
I would.
Film yourself saying generic phrases like "that's shit," "aha," "that crap." Send it to us, and we'll fit it into a reaction video of The Witcher.
Yep. Well, he's got his best one. Like, to be fair, like that reaction from season 1 where he just goes, "Oh, fuck." It's perfect.
He summed everything up with that one line, didn't he?
He
did
knew.
we know.
Poor Henry. Yeah, he knew what he was what he was stuck with. But yeah, I'm glad he got out. It's like getting out of an abusive relationship. He made it. Yeah, speaking of abusive relationships, actually, Chris Hemsworth was talking a little bit about being Thor and his work on Love and Thunder. And I thought it was fantastic because, yeah, he just straight up admitted that it sucked. He did an interview with GQ recently, and he said, basically apologizing for the movie being terrible. He says, "I think we had a bit too much fun. It just became a little bit too silly." And well, it's really difficult to argue with him on that one. It did. I think the only person that really had fun on that one was probably Taika Waititi.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen the backstage stuff? He just seemed like he was just making it up as he went along. So that was probably pretty fun for him. He just came up with an idea, and they just spent millions of dollars to make his random idea he just came up with happen.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to be on set, and it's just like, well, I've got unlimited resources, like whatever, like this army of people that's around me can just make my wildest, ridiculous dreams come true. Yeah, of course, you can have fun with that. It's just, wow, it doesn't result in a great movie.
Apparently with zero oversight, too.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with Ragnarok. It bought him a lot of credit within Marvel, I think, and they basically just give him a creative blank check with this one. And, well, you see what he produced. It was an interesting movie.
Yes.
But it does. I don't know, man. It's not very often that these Marvel actors like speak out against their own franchise. Generally, they're pretty unified on this stuff. And you know, Hemsworth hasn't left officially. Like, he's still technically part of it. He could be doing another Thor movie at some point. So the fact that even he was like openly critical of it, I think that's kind of an interesting insight, really, to where his head's at.
I think he's not contracted, as I understand it. He isn't currently contracted to do anymore, but he's not said he's not coming back. So I guess the fact he's not contracted allows him to speak a bit more openly. I was actually reading a little bit more of the interview, because he's not just talking about Thor, also Ant-Man Quantumania, which he says he hasn't seen, but he saw enough of the adverts to wonder why they turned Ant-Man into a space epic. He said, that's the trick. You have to separate all the stories. The moment it's like, your world is in danger, the entire universe, it's like, yeah, so it was in the last 24 films.
Yeah.
It's a good comment, and he's right about that. Maybe we should put him in charge, because he does seem to have a basic understanding of how these things work.
Well, Drinker, do you remember the open bar where I told you the stakes were multiversal? It was just like,
Yeah.
again. Like, yep, again.
It's just wearying, yeah. Give me, like, one character, literally one single solitary soul that I really care about, put them in danger, and I'll be more invested than the fate of the entire multiverse with its uncountable trillions of universes that are part of it. That's the way the human mind works. We gravitate towards things that we personally identify with.
I think Chris Hemsworth also knows his worth. And Marvel, they need him more than he needs them right now. He's made plenty of money on these films.
They need a goddamn miracle at this point.
Oh, absolutely. You know, he knows he's one of the last remaining original cast. He knows that Chris Hemsworth is a selling point for people going to see the movie, because it is the original Thor. He's doing very successfully with Extraction. The sequel's just about to come out for Extraction. And he's a liked person. You know, he's like Chris Pratt. He does have a good reputation. He's got a good reputation of the way that he communicates, the way that he treats fans. And, you know, there's a lot of goodwill that goes alongside him. I think he realizes they need me more than I need them. And if he never returns back to a Marvel film, I don't think he's going to miss a heartbeat on that. He made his feelings about Thor known pretty early on. Yeah. That he was not happy with Taika Waititi's direction. He was not happy with the direction of Thor as a character. And so this doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Maybe the Ant-Man comment, that's quite interesting, because he's going a little bit out of his out of his own franchise there, but still within Marvel, but you know what I mean. And I think he's like, I don't care, you know, if they don't call me back, or if I don't agree a contract terms for another film, no skin off my nose. What are you gonna do? Bring back fucking Jane Foster? That film will crater.
I mean, he said, like, I wouldn't work with any more mad geniuses when it came to making movies, and it's like, well, I wonder who he could be referring to there. Yeah, man, it's just at this point in his career, because, you know, he's been doing Thor for what, 10 years now? More than 10 years, probably.
Yeah.
There's maybe an element of
Avengers was 2012, so what was it? Thor must have been 2 years before that.
Yeah. You're talking like, that's a long time to be playing that character. And like, when you think about, you know, Robert Downey Jr.'s gotten out, Chris Evans is out, although he probably shouldn't have, because it's like all he's got going. You know, Scarlett Johansson's out. They all have now moved on to other things, because that's what you do as an actor. You can't just keep playing the same role forever. And you know, he's a pretty decent star in his own right now. You know, he can carry a movie. Like, he's got the Extraction franchise that could well become a big franchise for him.
I think that'll be. It looks like it's on the way of John Wick, probably, where it'll maybe be a sort of staple. I can't imagine making those films are probably fucking with him in terms of Marvel films, where you're with a team that are very passionate trying to create a specific experience versus a bunch of insane nonsense with no schedule and a madman director just being like, lol, what if we said poo?
Yeah.
I think as well, for most actors, they'd maybe rather be playing roles that are a bit more serious, that they can get their teeth into and actually do some acting. Versus like just clowning around and being basically the butt of every joke. It's like, I feel like Chris Pratt's gone down that road as well. I feel like he's just done with the whole like, yeah, you know, playing goofy like Star-Lord. I want to do like more interesting stuff. You know, he's got the Terminal list going on, and like he kind of seems to be more interested in doing more serious action movies. And maybe there's just an element of like, okay, you know, being the sort of jokey, goofy superhero characters was fine for a while because it was good for my career. I'm done with that crap now. I'm getting older. I want to do more serious stuff.
There's nothing integral to the superhero genre that has to be unchanging silliness. I think that's more a comment on the failure of the imagination of Marvel generally, to actually allow their characters to evolve to more serious places and allow these actors to have a more varied, a greater variety of roles playing the same character. I mean, if you think about what they did over a long period of time with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, they were able to give him a variety of different takes on that character and a general progression of that character up to a point where he was, you know, he begins as a reasonably sort of action hero-y type person, and by the end he's a gritty, like wised up but quite cynical person who's ready to bow out as a character, not just as an actor. And they allowed him a bit more development in terms of, you know, the parts that were being written for him. And it's a bit of a shame with, say, Thor and Chris Hemsworth that, yeah, they do seem to just think, well, Thor's thing is silly. And that's all it can ever be. It's all it will ever be. So, yeah, we're not going to make any new grounds with this character anymore. I don't think it's essential to a superhero story that these people remain static, but it does seem to be the approach they're taking.
I mean, the closest they got within the MCU, I think, was probably Tony Stark, where he actually got a decent arc as a character and a fairly serious climax to it all. You know, and he went
Winter Soldier and Civil War were the most serious the MCU got.
Yeah,
and I fucking miss it, dude.
Yeah,
I really do.
Because they're two of the best films out there. The Avengers on top of that, Infinity War. But in Infinity War, look at Thor in Infinity War. He was a serious character and he was superb. You know,
he was one of the best aspects. Yeah.
That was my favorite portion of Thor's eras. It was when he finally started taking everything very seriously and wanted revenge.
Yeah, and particularly when he landed at Wakanda, he was just like, right, I'm gonna fuck you all up, you fucks. I'm after
Dude,
you.
Bring me Thanos.
Bring me Thanos. Yeah, he's ready.
Just a death machine. It's great.
This demigod is ready. You know, he's ready to do battle, and I liked it at the beginning of Endgame where he just fucking cuts his head off.
But don't you understand? No, it was important that he became fat and just a loser who cries constantly and you know suffers panic attacks and he's wearing a big soiled
bathrobe. It would be funny if you were just a dude.
Yeah.
Ha ha.
That's still one of the weirdest references in the history, considering the fact the actor who played him was in the series, like the MCU. It's still one of the strangest things they ever decided to do.
Yeah. There's a lot of issues with Endgame, I think, and
wouldn't be shocked if they forgot that actor was in it, that Jeff Bridges was in it. It was in the
probably. It's so far back in their history. Yeah, like there'll be a lot of writers working there now. They just have no clue what happened in the first
They've got to
phase.
have done that. Like some new writer has been like, can we bring in Jeff Bridges at some point? And probably someone was like, oh shit, we already did.
Well, that's kind of like Taika Waititi.
Yeah, when he was like, I want to work with Natalie Portman and bring her into Star Wars.
Yeah, looked at him like, what the hell's wrong with you?
That one's a bit different because at least I would actually more understand the Jeff Bridges one because that's Iron Man. That's 2008. That's the first one. I can buy making that mistake, but Natalie Portman in the fucking that was half of Star Wars at one point. What do you? How do you make that mistake? But then again, of course, I don't believe Taika Waititi cares about Star Wars either.
No. Have you noticed what have been very successful new franchises in the last couple of years or so? Extraction, John Wick is definitely one. Terminal List, Reacher. Can you find the common denominator with those four massive, big franchises? We actually have a macho, masculine lead man again, and that's been missing drastically. Thor, all of the men in Phase 4 were cucked. We know that they were pushed to one side to push these failed characters. There's a reason why those characters failed in the comics, and there's a reason why they failed on the big screen, because you have the same flaws that you have on the big screen that you do with the comics, because these characters are not coming from the right place. They're coming from places where we have to drag people down in an effort to bring those characters up. and it doesn't work. It's crabs in a bucket. Whereas when you have characters like John Wick, when you got characters like in the Extraction, in Reacher, in Terminal List, these are very flawed characters. Flawed characters that have a very specific arc about them. And people gravitate towards that because there's an actual journey with the character. There's no journey with this MCU right now. No journey. Because there can be no flaws with their new characters that they want to push. There can't be for them. And it makes for boring, and I don't want to use the word entertainment, so let's just say it makes for boring films.
Boring content.
Yeah, boring content.
Are you telling me you're not excited for Ironheart? As you bigot. He's off.
Man here.
Just before I go on, actually, Paul Morton finally made it. Have I missed much? No, not too much at all, mate. We were just killing time until you got here. So thanks, man. Glad you made it. I was about to start phoning the hospitals.
Can you just start again? Can you just start again, guys? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, let's go back to the beginning.
Well, Spider-Verse film was okay.
There was babies being stupid early on. That was interesting. Out of context, that makes a lot of sense. So.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see Hemsworth come back for another Thor movie. I could see him just bowing out and just being done.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point if we see him popping up in Avengers films in a very green screeny kind of way, like a very disconnected kind of way.
Which will be really sad in his living room.
It'll be totally indicative of where we're at, which is that none of the actors even care anymore.
It's weird because they even had like an opportunity, because people have been calling for, this is, I think certain people will get it. Beta Ray Bill for years, people have been calling for him in movies. Who could have easily been a slot-in that would have been a full CG character that could have been a stand-in for Thor, and they instead went with one of the most unpopular of like the Thor knockoffs, so to say, with Jane to fulfill some quota when they could have easily had the storyline of. I mean, he's already lost favor with Mjolnir like 35 times in this series alone. And they could have easily done the storyline where he loses favor with it, and it's taken up by Beta Ray Bill, and they just never did it. That would have been an easy out.
But they don't like using source material that comes from before their ownership of the property, even, do they? It seems to be the common thing with Marvel when they say, was it Bob? Who was it who said, "Well, we've got." Oh, there you go. Who was it who said? We've got so much. We've got like 50 years of source material with great stories that we could still be using. So the franchise will last another decade at least. So you will actually have to use some of that, not just the stuff that's been produced since Disney was in the picture, which seems to be where they're going with the insertion of characters like, well, Ironheart being the most proximate example, but others as well. That they're picking the most recent comics and the worst comics and the most poorly received ones, including ones that have been cancelled several times already, and that seems to be where they're taking their inspiration from new stories from, which is just a baffling decision.
Because they're the ones who are socially aligned with their ideology. That's why. And Feige said, "This comics been going for 80-odd years, so why can't we go for 80-odd years?" Dude, if you go for 8 more years, I'm going to fucking kill myself.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, though. If you're going to go for 80 years, you should probably start at the beginning of the 80 years. You can't, like, if you want to use the source material for 80 years, you don't start at year 72 and go from there. It's not how you utilize it.
Yeah, because they have apparently skipped a lot of amazing storylines because they were in a rush to get to the more, well, as Az put it, the stuff that more ideologically aligns with where they're at as a company.
I mean, like with Thor alone, they skipped Blood and Thunder, which was where they took the name for Love and Thunder, but Blood and Thunder involved like Silver Surfer and Thanos. They could have used that before the Infinity War. Obviously they used Ragnarok already, but like they basically skipped the entire Walt Simonson run, which is a legendary run of Thor comics. There's so much they could have done that they just never did.
Yeah, I mean, like people talk about Planet Hulk as well, and like now we basically got She-Hulk and Thor, and Hulk's son just kind of shows up in like some of the worst.
Yeah, that was
the worst special effects I think I've ever seen. Does he even say a word, or does he just like stand there in the background like a big old rubbery plank of wood?
He looked like the one character from Big Bang Theory, Leonard. He looked like Leonard from Big Bang Theory with the hair. And I was like, Scar is such a cool character. How are you going to do him dirty like that? Like,
He looked like Kane when he unmasked in WWF.
And it was really
That's a
disappointing.
deep reference right there.
That's a deep cut for some fans out. But look, you had with the new stuff, you had Ironheart, failed comic, Ms. Marvel, failed comic, Jane Foster Thor, failed comic. These are even Captain Marvel, failed comic. These are comics which haven't just been cancelled; they've been cancelled over and over and over again, and they keep relaunching them. And they've been cancelled so many times now that Ms. Marvel got shoehorned into the Amazing Spider-Man to usurp his comic because she couldn't sell her own, and then they just killed her off 6 months before a film comes out. For what? A great comeback for a comic that nobody buys.
You mean you're not excited for the Marvels?
Apparently
What's
not.
wrong with you?
Jeez.
I'm a big.
I think the only people who are excited for the Marvels are the people who are going to make money off of making fun of it. So, you should be pretty excited for it, actually.
Yeah, but I'm at stage 628 cancer right now, and it's getting pretty hard to focus. I'm not naturally bald. This is fucking chemo, mate. It's Marvel chemo that I'm having to take.
Are you still watching Gotham Knights, by the way? I just have to ask.
Oh, I gave up after 2 episodes. I just look at the ratings now.
He's not got disbruised constitution.
I was gonna say
3 seasons of Batwoman.
Yes, yeah, that is a good point.
That is like that's like 3 tours in Vietnam.
That's your Saigon.
He's got the 1,000-yard Batwoman stare.
Yeah, those 2 episodes of Gotham Knights, and then I was like, "Get me on a helicopter! I'm getting out of here now."
Just went right into like PTSD mode. He was like, nope, not doing it again.
Every time he hears that song, like "I'm a woman," he starts shaking in the corner, like oh no.
It's like 5. Someone in the
Scrubbing
comments
myself with a Brillo pad.
But yeah, is Gotham Knights not like a 0.04 demo?
So a 0.04 this week.
I didn't think that was even possible.
That's about 50,000 people. That's what that equates to. About 50,000 18 to 49-year-olds.
Like, we put out a video, and like most of us will get more than that on just like a single video. Dude, you'll get
that in a hour. First fucking hour, man.
That's tragic. How can that show be sustained? Like, how could they even justify making it or even showing it?
Because they spend about $50 an episode.
Oh yeah, they said it's the cheapest show they've ever made. 8 shows.
God. Well,
but the sad thing is that means because this week did I think about 360,000. That means there's 310,000 old men whacking it off.
Well, they gotta go somewhere, as.
The wonderful world of superhero movies.
Well,
shall we do
another Batman show without Batman? Fuck off!
Well, he's a villain, isn't he? Isn't he a fascist or something?
Apparently, he's a white guy. He's automatically a villain.
Well, that was the G4 question for the application to join G4.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Why do we hate Batman?
He was like, why are we hating Batman again?
Why do we hate Batman? Because he's rich and he's white. Oh, okay, we're going there, are we?
Yeah. And it's like, you know, the hiring officer, you're white and you're quite rich as well, aren't you? It doesn't apply to me.
Yeah.
Don't question me about that. Anyway, let's do some super chats. Let's address the audience here. They have questions and we should answer them. Or we can try anyway. The first one was from DC7000, who says, saw you on the SW trail last night, Drinker. The guy with the bow tie was hilarious. I hope you're up for the prosecution next, Mueller. Yes, that was. I put Star Wars on trial last night, and I feel like I prosecuted my case well.
Is there anyone speaking for the defense there? Like, who's actually defending it?
We had 3 defense lawyers, and I think it drove them nuts, and they went sort of insane and just started ranting about random stuff about how difficult it was to make Star Wars content these days. And so
that's usually the general defense. That's usually the defense that people come up with. So
I think the defense being, you know, and I'm being generous here, but it was based around well, George started to violate the canon and make things a bit shit already, so you know we can't be held accountable for that. So yeah. Anyway, we won the case, so that was all good. Don Blackbird says, I saw Spider-Verse on a Monday morning at 10 a.m. While booking the theater, it was sold out, but there were only about 8 people during the actual show. It's weird, and I won't trust the box office on this. This was from Sydney in Australia. Interesting. So apparently it was sold out, but there was only a few people there, actually, on the day. That's odd. Chucksenhausen says, hail to chat, and to my good friend Dark Hour. Think Cobra Kai will premiere this year or next year? I don't know. There's not been any word on that, has there? Hey, Eagle Fang.
That's completely accidental. I just wore this for today anyway. So
as for the final season, yeah, I don't know. There's not been any word on it, has there, about when they're going to show it? I think it might be this year.
Last I heard, it got backed up because of the writer strikes.
Right.
Yeah, so I would assume next year, if anything.
Okay, and that is the final season, isn't it? That's the end of the Cobra Kai saga. I'm gonna miss it when it's gone, man. I really am.
It was definitely a show that like subverted my expectations in a very good way.
Yeah, very much. Cirrhosis of Liver says, to the panel, if you had to live in America, which city do you fancy the most?
I live in America.
Well, yeah. But which city would you like to live in?
Oh, that's rough. I'll let you guys go first because I've been to several of them, so it's like
I might go for Miami in Florida. Just the weather, and the weather. That's pretty much it.
I wish I could combine like several aspects of different cities.
Yeah. I did like Atlanta when I was there. That was quite nice.
I like in Florida. I like Tampa. I think Tampa is a super underrated city. It's kind of got like a cross feel of like because it's got like a little bit of that Orlando feel because it does have some like theme parks and like stuff that you can go do like that way. But it still has a real Florida feel to it as well. With like the you're near like Clearwater Beach, which is one of the nicest beaches you'll ever see in your life. So I'd probably pick there. Food wise, I'd probably go. Boston has some really good food. Like if you're ever in Boston, anybody on the panel, if you're ever in Boston, just hit me up for some suggestions there because I know all the best places to eat in Boston. I've been there like 14 times at this point.
I'd like to live in Metropolis.
Nice one.
Well,
I say we get you there, yeah.
Gotham City is if you look at the like encyclopedia for the DC is where Atlantic City, New Jersey is. So technically, I don't live that far from Gotham.
We well, apparently when they did Batgirl, right? They were looking for a good stand-in for Gotham, and like none of the American cities that they scouted out were shit enough. But they found then they found Glasgow, and they're like, this is a proper shithole.
Oh, I don't know
how they filmed it all there.
Did they not scout Detroit, St. Louis, Camden,
San
New Jersey,
Francisco,
San Francisco,
New York?
They must have just scouted like 2 cities. Or like, now let's go overseas. It's probably.
I assumed there was like that combination of like the architecture and the general dilapidation and absolute despair that permeates the place, and I think Glasgow combines those 2 things perfectly. So yeah, that was their choice. I mean, we'll never know.
I definitely just alienated some people in the chat. By the way, there's definitely people from those cities that I just named.
Yeah. What about Mauler and Platoon? Where would you guys live in America if you had a choice? And it has to be a real place. It can't be a made-up city.
Fairbanks, Alaska, because it's the coldest, darkest place in America.
Wow. Imagine how much editing you would get done, Mauler.
Imagine.
Like somewhere where it's nighttime all the time. That would be fun. I hate cities, so I wouldn't live in one. But I don't know. I mean, Chicago, because I like that sort of on your edge of your seat. Will I die when I go down the street today? It keeps you awake.
That's just being Scottish.
Go to Glasgow, apparently.
Yeah, it's wild, man. He also says, by the way, I didn't know that the little Platoon could sing. Pretty good voice.
Thank you.
I mean, he
Not
has.
skill.
He does have a great
Far
voice.
far too sober to be doing that now.
Cirrhosis of Liver. He also says, Darker, which United Kingdom city would you like to live in if you had the choice?
Oof. I mean, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you.
It's great listening to Americans trying to name British cities as well. It's like London. I don't know.
Well, obviously,
Worcestershire?
I mean, I do know that.
Leicestershire.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard for me to pick those, but probably I'm gonna have to go somewhere in Wales. I would probably go with like Wales, just because. Why not? It's like I've only heard bad.
Swansea,
well, Wales isn't a city; it's a country, but it's about the size of a city. So,
a little bit.
But yeah, I don't know. I normally I would have to think about it, but somebody said Newcastle in the shirt. Where
Newcastle's a good night out.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
I'm not really. The thing is, I don't really know anything about those cities. Like I've seen maps with the cities, but I don't know much about them. You'd have to give me some like time to research them.
No, that's fair. One day I'm just hoping that it's like an American will name somewhere really random, like Grimsby or something like that.
Well, I used to play. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Europa Universalis 4, the game. Yeah, I used to play that all the time. So I actually can name a lot of random European cities. It's just right now I don't like the question specific to the question. I don't really know about them. I know that I sieged them in the game, but that's about. Getting to England was really hard in that game because their boats are really good in the 1400s and on. But,
yeah, they were okay in the 1400s. Not so much these days.
Yeah,
they're shitty these days.
Joshua Levesque, this is one of my mods, says, and this is true apparently, did you know that Quentin Tarantino spent $10,000 to suck a stripper's toes until they looked like prunes? I think he might need an intervention for his foot fetish.
I wish I didn't know that.
Why did you let us know that?
Yeah.
I'm just reading out the super chat, man. It's like...
Oh, you know what? Someone
he does have this thing, though, isn't it? It's like it's in so many of his movies. The fucking feet. I don't get it, but
that's the one. I just saw it in the chat. The Wales city that no one can pronounce that has the longest name. What's the? I know that. Yeah, that one. That's the one I want to go live in.
It's like someone just like had an epileptic fit and like hit their keyboard. You know?
Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
I smell toast.
I think didn't you pronounce that on B-Sup for all of us? Like, didn't you like actually say it or something like that?
I think so.
Yeah, that's the one. Everybody, the one that no one knows how to say.
Hold on. Longest town name in Wales. So it's wow.
Yeah. Well, didn't you do this on EFAB?
Somebody just said it in the chat. If you want to highlight it, there, Drinker.
It ain't easy to say.
Remember, the double L's are pronounced.
That's the one right there.
This is it. This is legit. This is what it actually is.
Only
because I would love.
How is this possible?
Only because what I wouldn't give to put that when somebody wanted to send me something to make them like type out that whole name.
I mean, it's Come on, I can't believe you can't do this more.
Isn't that what you said?
Wait, you want me to
Tatiana the other night?
I mean, you can, yeah.
I can give it a shot, but I ain't gonna be able to do it like a hyper Welsh person. Most Welsh people I know don't know how to fucking pronounce this thing.
Isn't there only like 1 million or not even like 100,000 Welsh speakers in like the entire country at this point?
3. I think they may have had a kid. I don't know. So yeah, as is right. Llanfair, Pwlgwyn, Gilgogeri, Hwrdrobl, Thanti, Silio, Gogogoch. That's the best I could do. Because you have
you're all welcome. You're all welcome in the chat.
Nice. There you go. You got some hardcore culture there, motherfuckers.
It's either that or Grimsby. Remember?
Yeah. All right, next one is Kyle Kiernan says predictions on when the MCU will finally end. It'll never end.
Never.
Because according to Kevin Feige, they got another 80 years of stories to tell.
The reasonable next thing to expect is, I think, an Avengers doing less than $1 billion, and then budgets going down. They're going to have to start really bringing down the budgets. But I don't think the MCU is going to stop. Not for a long time.
Well,
on an optimistic note, though, the Russians are now threatening to use nuclear weapons over Ukraine. So, I mean, that would bring a swift, rapid end to the whole thing. so we can hope.
I mean,
for
yeah,
Quite a lot of things, actually, I think.
it's like nuclear annihilation, the MCU continuing. I don't know, it's a tough one. Which one
You
would
know,
I pick?
list out the pros and cons of the MCU dying is in the pros column. Like, come on,
Would
guys.
a reboot like a restart constitute it ending and being a new MCU? Because if that's the case, I could see that happening like relatively
They ain't rebooting
soon.
it. They're gonna stick with all these fucking insane characters they
I
introduced.
said
in Phase
relatively
4.
soonish, not
No, but yeah, they have talked about this, have they not? The potential for rebooting it, because it could be done.
I mean, I would recommend it. That's the first fucking thing I'd do if I had full control. Be like,
Yeah, but would you want to see? Would you want to see Iron Man done again in today's climate?
We don't have to do Iron Man. So the first thing I would do is figure out all of the characters. I want to talk to people like Gary and Az and everybody who actually gives a shit about the source. Find out which characters they think have been harshest done by. Find out
And
which
Dark Hour more. Dark Hour.
and Dark Hour, of course.
You reboot it and you start with the Fantastic Four, is what you do.
So see, it's stuff like that. Basically, we don't need to redo Iron Man. We can survive without an Iron Man. We'll make new, versions of classic characters people want to see on screen with actors that are suitable, with stories that are suitable. We don't need an Iron Man. We can make a whole. But maybe one day we introduce a fucking new. Once enough time has passed, maybe when Robert Downey Jr. is fucking dead, so that people are like, all right, you couldn't have brought him back, I guess.
I do think starting with the Fantastic Four and X-Men would make a lot of sense. So
yeah,
and they have the rights to them now. So
and you can. Oh god, it feels like it would just be. It would actually be pretty easy. Like instead of Thanos for our first 3 phases, it's Doctor Doom. Just start with him.
Yes,
Doctor Doom and Magneto.
Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom.
Next one is Go for Broke, who says, "Little Platoon, can you please describe to the panel the canon Star Wars fart wedding story?"
Oh, God.
This was fantastic. Oh my god, this was great.
The only bit of it I've read, sadly, is the fart itself. But that's when
the climax.
What the hell are the characters' names? Is it
it was
Wexley?
Poe.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
No, Poe's officiating. I think, because that's just a thing.
But
he
it's
can
from
do.
his perspective. That's
Well, they all ate dodgy seafood or something, and then when this random character who we're supposed to know the name of because he was in the Rise of Skywalker, when it comes to them giving their vows, they all fart, and it's hilarious, and the author has a great fun describing the fart, and that is, I think, they may have decanonized it since, but for a while it was canon that, there was a really dramatic fart wedding, because Star Wars is fun now, guys.
And fun equals farts. So
Yeah. Just to let you know as well, we've got Dark Hour up to about 800 subscribers now. So if we could get them up to 1,000, that would be awesome by the end of the stream. We'll see if we can do it. I believe in you guys. You can do this. Anyway, the link to his channel's in the description. So if you feel like giving him a subscribe, then please do.
You can do it. Come on.
You can do it.
Come on.
We believe in you. Mr. Luca says, Platoon, Az, and Mauler in Star Wars court. Are you going to take them to court? Are you going to be on the prosecution?
Am I going to sue them? Maybe.
I'm good. I am going to be on. Yes.
Oh.
can I get my money back for the tickets? Because that would be fantastic.
I actually want to see like one of you guys do the defense, like just devil's advocate, like you have to defend.
No.
It's like
I used to have to do that
put
a
Mueller
lot
in
at
charge
uni,
of like
'cause
respecting legacy characters' defense, just to watch his head explode.
Well, they respected Salacious B. Crumb. So you can fuck off.
So someone compared me to Elon Musk now in the chat. I prefer that over Joe Rogan. He's got a lot more money. So.
Yeah, I mean, if I was as rich as either of those men, I would be
I was about to
perfectly
say.
happy. Joe Rogan as a second, that's fine. I can handle that. Mr. Taco Boutique says, lots of great characters in this movie. The OST was awesome. Who was your favorite character? Love Miles and Miguel, but Pav and Hobie were lit. Miguel would probably be my favorite, I think.
I liked Miles. I did like Miles and Gwen. I thought they bounced off very well with each other, and Miguel was very good as well. So was the spot.
For me.
Peter parked car. Peter parked car. Great character.
They look like T-Rex Spider-Man. He was pretty good.
For real characters, though, Miguel is definitely my favorite. I've always actually, you know what? I'm gonna do the thing that I do with everything. Let me see. I'm sure I have one over here. Oh, yep, right here. Don't knock over my light. But yeah, I've always had a thing for Spider-Man 2099. This is actually signed by Peter David, who invented him. So that's cool.
Nice.
Only reason why that's out is because I'm going to a convention soon where the illustrator's there. So that's like I didn't like it just happened to be there.
Sure, whatever.
It's like, we believe you. Mr. Taco Petit also says, also check out BlackBerry about the rise and fall of the phone in the wake of the first iPhone. Glenn Howerton is absolutely hilarious in it. Was it like is it a movie then? Not like a documentary or anything. Okay.
Might be like a Tetris, something like that.
Well, yeah, because I was going to say, ordinarily that is the kind of thing that would bore everything off of me. But in the world where Tetris exists and was a surprisingly good film, I might actually check that out.
You can sometimes weave quite like a fun narrative around like things like this, just like influential events that what went on behind the scenes to actually make that happen.
Have you seen Tetris yet, Drinker?
Oh no, I don't think I have actually.
I think you have to think if you saw it.
Well,
I think you'd like it.
Oh, I think you'd like it. Yeah,
I didn't.
Okay.
It's funny. That was one of those movies that just like snuck up out of nowhere. No, there was like nothing about it, and it was just like, hey, there's a Tetris movie. It's like, well,
I mean, yeah. I'm taking recommendations at the moment because like I watched The Menu on your advice and very much enjoyed that.
When have I ever let you down, eh?
That is true. Yeah, you've never steered me wrong.
Didn't you make him watch Blood Origin?
No, nope. No, I didn't make it. He made me watch Blood Origin.
Oh, okay. That was backwards.
But it's not. To be fair, it's not like I claimed that was good or anything.
No. In fact, I think you gave me the number for the hospital just in case I forgot.
I gave you the number for the Samaritans as well. It's like, don't do it, Mola. Blackbird, or Don Blackbird says, Drinker, do you follow JRE? You got a little, or I guess the Joe Rogan Experience. You got a little shout out from Chad Stahelski, the director of John Wick, on yesterday's episode. Our boy's making it big. Yeah, apparently that's the real thing that happened. The director of John Wick said that he watched my videos. And apparently Keanu had seen them as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, he said they watched like all kinds of reviews and stuff, and I was like, I fucking hope they didn't watch ours. I mean, mine.
I hope he watched mine, because
I hope he watched all the ones that celebrated his film.
Yeah, I was fairly kind, like to John Wick 4, so yeah, I don't feel too bad about that. But no, it's pretty cool. Nice to get a little shout out. Mikey Gusler says, addressing a super chat on the Real BBC from Mauler, Cosmonaut's take on the Jedi is that they should always find a way to not attack their enemies, and he criticised Yoda in the prequels for landing in the arena and saving the Jedi.
Always find a way to not attack their enemies. So what about defense from enemies that are attacking them?
Well, I think that's built into that statement, is that you're using it as if you're using it as a defensive, you're not being aggressive, I think is the term.
Self-defense, what I'm referring to is like you block an attack and then you chop their fucking head off. Surely that's still okay, right? Like I don't know. Like,
well, I guess meeting like force with like force is allowed. I guess that's what it would be.
I would hope so, but I would also I wouldn't want to make Jedi, Sith, and everything in between to the point where if you ever attack someone, now you're not a Jedi. It's like I don't know. I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. You can make mistakes, or you can have reasons. We never really got to explore much of that kind of conflict, like different ideas about what someone believes a Jedi is or what a Sith is. I would have fucking loved that. You right there, mate?
I'm just busy dying, don't worry.
Someone started force choking him.
Live action like Sith training and an actual point of view that someone could find enticing and useful instead of just I'm evil.
Hold on, am I correct, by the way? Because I did not go to see The Rise of Skywalker. I'd rather poke my eyes out with red hot pokers. But is it true that Palpatine said, if you kill me, I will take you over and become the strongest, the bestest? And she killed him.
Yes.
And he didn't.
Yes.
Well, that we know anyway.
We know.
Still think she's him now.
It was one of the worst written ways to deal with that ever. It was like I've said in the past with certain things, it's like more than one person wrote the speech and just pasted it together.
I think
the
some
only
of the
possible way
truly
of reading that is that Palpatine won. I mean, because that's it. So Rey burying the Skywalker legacy in the dusts of Tatooine is actually Palpatine burying the legacy of his only chief rivals. The only way you can read that film sensibly is if Palpatine wins and Rey is taking on the mantle of a hero in order to trick the galaxy and rise again. I would watch another sequel trilogy where she actually is
that's
that.
a great setup to the next set of movies you could actually use, and that's what we would, I think, do if we were forced to make a Rey movie again.
I think if you were to switch up the soundtrack in that scene, you could absolutely recut that as the stinger for a horror movie.
Yeah,
that moment of like, oh my god, like that little smile at the end where she says Rey Skywalker.
Dude, you'd have to,
and then the camera just like pans in on her face, and you get like this horrific, like disturbing music. It's like, oh god, he got her, he got her.
Which Psycho is it? Where they like, is the mum's face is on like superimposed on his, right, or her laugh or something? You just do that with Palpatine and Rey, you know. You just and then the next film, you have everybody like chilling out with her, but you know she's a little bit more curt than usual. She's a little bit more rash. She's a little bit more adventurous and doesn't give a shit about who's doing what and stuff. And you're just like, oh, that's kind of weird. And by the end of the film, you have like a situation like in Breaking Bad, you know, where someone clues on, they realize every piece falls into place, and then she realizes they realize, but they get the fuck out of there, and then it's a race against time. Who's going to get the truth out? What's going to happen? And then people might actually say, yeah, I wouldn't mind a sequel to this. Like, what happens next? We could do it, I swear. We could turn Rey around. We could make her evil.
Yeah, embrace what she was always supposed to be.
Dude,
honestly, that would
best,
possibly save her.
The best twist to the end of that trilogy is they pull Palpatine out of her. He's destroyed, and then some scientist, doctor, mystical person says, wait a minute. I just checked all the readings. He had no control over Rey's actions. And they all look at her. And she's like, he did. It was him. It wasn't me.
As, like, having never seen Rise of Skywalker, you've missed out on some of the greatest dialogue in movie history. Palpatine screams at her, I am all of the Sith. And she responds, well, I am all of the Jedi. And then blasts him with his own Force lightning. And he melts into a skeleton thing.
She like smacks her sabers together, and it somehow like reflects it harder back at him. It's like
harder,
and he can't turn it off because it's like peeing. It hurts if you stop. So,
are you
like,
sure that he didn't say
going.
I am all of the Sith, and she said I am Iron Man?
No, she actually said it's Morbin time, and then she.
I'm glad.
If you look at the script structure for the two movies, for Endgame and Rise of Skywalker, they're nearly identical. So you're right on. You're hitting it right on the head there.
I'm just glad she made up for Anakin's failures, where he tossed Palpatine down into a vaporization shaft. It's like, dude, you haven't got it.
I wish we hadn't installed this vaporization shaft in the throne room. Damn it.
Rey knew he'd fucked up, and she fixed it. So good on her, stupid Anakin.
Yeah. Marksman of 117B says, Drinker, Mauler, watch the animated film Unicorn Wars now.
Or what?
Well, he'll get you, and he won't send any more super chats. Oh, ironically enough, Marksman of 117B also says, Prophecy says that the teddy bear who slays the last unicorn and drinks of their blood will ascend to become the child of God, and paradise will return. Only Spain could give us something that's visually as cute as Bambi, set the tone of Apocalypse Now, and draws allegory from the Bible. It's an absolutely amazing film. That's a pretty strong recommendation right there. So, sounds all right.
What was the movie name? What was it?
Unicorn Wars.
Oh, okay. Oh, I mean, hell.
Oh, yeah.
You sold me on it.
Yeah. Well, we like to see unicorns fighting, so yeah, sounds good. Mikey Gusler says, did you hear that Leslie Headland said about George Lucas? There's a clip Jeremy and Drunk 3PO shared on a stream earlier today around the 13-minute mark. No, I didn't actually. No, shit. Yeah, I can't dig that up just as we're doing this right now. We'd probably hold things up for too long, but yeah, I'll look that one up actually. I'd be interested to see what she says, because you know she's a real authority on Star Wars.
She likes her favorite Star Wars film is Star Wars.
Yeah. What's your favorite game?
Well,
I like Nintendo.
As it's funny that your favorite film being Star Wars could mean you're a hyper fan or a non-fan at all. Like it could mean both.
True.
Of those.
Well, she said, did she say I like all the Star Wars or something? That was the reply.
Yeah, because it saved her life. It saved her life. Remember? It literally saved her life.
Wow. What, was Weinstein going to regret? Okay, never mind.
Saved her from all those horrible accusations. Anyway, what was the next one? Asher Dale says, there's another random fan theory. Agent Smith in The Matrix is the classically tragic hero of his own story. He's not the one. He only wants to be free of the Matrix. He takes the earpiece out and says that he wants to be free. It's pretty true, actually,
There's a theory video that says he is the one, and he actually matches all of the prophecy of the one or whatever. I remember finding it interesting as an idea, but, you know.
Do you think the Wachowskis put that level of thought into it?
Oh, fuck off. No.
I don't know. Mauler's missing tentacle says, Papa Mauler, I miss you and my flumpy, sinuous siblings, but I'm learning so much out here in the wider world. Mr. Drinker, I must warn you, the Jaw has learned of your existence and has designs on you. Beware. Who's the Jaw?
The Jaw? Wow.
The Jaw.
Who knows? Maybe that's just like a bit of foreshadowing. Next phase, that'll be the boss, I guess. Something like that.
Yeah. It's like somewhere off in the darkness, like it's stirring. You know, I must get the Drinker. Waylon Pacephus says, Amanda hug and kiss or suck my deek.
He has the best super chats.
He really does, yeah. Puts thought into these. Watching Drinker read super chats drunk is like watching Gary read them 26 years sober. Anyway, Blade Runner or Unforgiven? Oof, that's a choice.
Oh, that's cruel.
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
I'm inclined to agree. I think Blade Runner I'd rather watch.
Little Platoon, what you got?
Also Blade Runner, yeah.
Fine, I'm just going to do it to be different. Unforgiven.
Someone hack one of his tentacles off for that blasphemy.
Hey, Unforgiven's amazing.
They're both fantastic movies, and I would happily rewatch either of them anytime. But yeah, my heart lies with Blade Runner. Here's a real one. Grimnack says Alexandra Daddario or Elizabeth Olsen. Daddario for me.
Daddario, 100%.
Yep.
Which one's Alexandra? Hold on.
She was
the one with a massive rack.
It was True Detective. The
with the big old fun. Oh man!
Somebody once explained her. It was the greatest explanation I've ever read of a person because she has like those bright blue eyes. They called her a husky with double D's, and it was like the funniest description I've ever heard somebody say because like Trigger got it.
I'm gonna have to say Elizabeth Olsen.
I'm gonna be home with Olsen as well. I think she's hotter. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she does something for me.
I think
I'm gonna ruin this for you, right? She's the one who mandated that Scarlet Witch had to be covered up. She didn't want to have the cleavage on display. Cow. That is like slapping God in the face. It truly is. It's like when Jennifer Connelly got a boob reduction. Why the fuck would you do that? What's wrong with you,
dude? Jennifer.
Jennifer, you're affecting world peace.
I did. Yeah, I was mortified about that.
That was what three for Daddario so far, and 1 for Olsen.
2 for Olsen.
I'm gonna go with Olsen as well.
Okay, so I guess Platoon's the tiebreaker.
Oh, 2-2.
That's going to be a tough one for Platoon, I would imagine.
My opinion on the Undies Matters is so very relevant. Olsen. I'll go Olsen.
There you go.
Hey.
Yay!
The best part is nobody's wrong.
Yeah, well, everyone wins, I suppose. Ultimately, if you get the girl you want, then well, you're a winner.
Everyone wins. What is this, communism?
Everyone's equally shit.
That's everyone loses. That's everyone wins.
They would call it a win.
David Lamplow says, recently I read an interview from Anthony Hopkins about starring in Marvel. He said they put him in from a blue screen in an outfit and told him to say lines with authority. He described it as not real acting, which is true. It isn't that green or blue screens don't have a place, but they should not be used as a complete replacement for everything, I believe was his point. It could also be a dig on their practices. I could totally buy
the
into
same point when filming The Hobbit. He gave an interview saying that he was bored and reduced to tears by not having contact with people he was acting with. So all his co-stars took pictures of themselves, and he sat in the recording booth with the pictures of people, so he could pretend that he was in the room with them, as opposed to this soulless green monotony.
Which there's an irony here, because it was his role in Thor that Anthony Hopkins cited as the reason he almost retired, but then he decided not to because Kenneth Branagh says no, go come play Odin, and then he enjoyed playing Odin, which I can buy if you watch the first film. This is the scene everybody cites, the family breakdown sort of scene in the first act, excellent, and he does a really fucking great job of capturing Odin. I would say, or at least coming across as though he has. Not that I'm super familiar with Odin, but. Yeah, it's Thor 2. It kind of gets weird, and then Thor Ragnarok. He's clearly not in the place that they have him, and then he dies. So yeah, I could buy that he feels that way.
Robo96 says, quite encouraging to hear Jenna Ortega talk about how Wednesday season 2 is going to focus more on the horror aspect of this rather than romance. Not saying that you can't have any romance, but in the wrong hands, it could easily dilute the source material. Yeah, Jenna Ortega is fucking based, man. Like, she actually cares about the character.
She seems pretty cool, yeah.
I like her.
Yeah, she got pretty upset the other day, didn't she? About social media.
What was her take?
Just it's just putting yourself out there and the sort of dangers of it, really. Just how open it really is, and how you got to be guarded, you got to be careful, and you're just opening yourself up to this deluge of shit that you don't need in your life at all.
True.
And I was like, yeah, damn right. Good
I think as an actor, yeah, like I would much rather just stay off social media completely and just.
Isn't she like
she's like 19 or something, isn't she?
I was about to say, I thought she was like 21. I was like, how the fuck is she saying the most relatable shit of all the actors?
It's crazy. I mean, it's in a
Wisdom
great way.
beyond her years.
Yeah, it makes me want to watch Wednesday now.
It's okay.
I think you'll enjoy it. Yeah. I think she's without doubt the best part of it.
She's the best part of it, yeah. And I like the idea that she's been on set complaining about whether or not Wednesday would say particular things. Is like, oh my god, that series might actually have legs. Who knows?
Yeah.
Living Jarcletus says, I just realized that the Flash is the only character that can't be race swapped. Drinker, you're a big inspiration for my content. Keep up the good work.
Already
Thank you very
has.
much.
Yeah, why can't he be race swapped?
He's already has been race swapped. Wally West was the Flash because Barry Allen died in Crisis on Infinite Earths in the comics, and Wally West took over as the Flash, red costume. Then they turned Wally West black.
Yeah.
So there you go. You've had your race swap Flash.
And they even oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, what would be the reason to assume why they would never race swap the Flash? What about the Flash?
I don't
know if they're talking in the context of the movies. Maybe that Ezra Miller is in a protected category.
Yeah,
maybe.
Oh, I think as soon as this movie's done, have you noticed one thing about the Flash movie? There ain't no Ezra Miller doing anything in terms of promotion.
Yeah,
I know, but like interestingly, the director said that he'd be up for working with Ezra Miller again.
I think that's
stronger than that. Said he couldn't imagine anyone else in the role at all. So it's a very strong endorsement by the director.
I just think it's so funny if they shit can Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, and Gal Gadot, but they keep Ezra fucking Miller of all people.
So the only it's funny because I was thinking that there is a character called Black Flash, which is it's like a spirit that takes over speedsters, and it's essentially like the demon of the Speed Force. So technically, there is a Black Flash. Just saying.
Okay, the next one is...
What about Black Aurora Flash?
Black Aurora Flash.
Black Aurora. Waylon Bucephus says, outside of Joker, has De Niro been in any good movies since the turn of the millennium? Though you could say the same for Pacino. Thoughts?
Well, it depends on if you think The Irishman is good.
Fuck yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to say that. Yeah, I mean,
what was the cutoff year?
The year 2000.
I mean, I'd have to look at their filmography, but there's got to be films they're in that aren't shit.
There must be one.
He killed it in Shark Tale.
I mean, it's just, yeah. Well, I think he got screwed over in his divorce, didn't he? And he had to pay a lot of bills.
De Niro
Jack and Jill.
That was Pacino.
Pacino, yeah.
De Niro since 2000. Let's see. I'll just pull up.
The Dunkachino.
Dunkachino, that's it.
I thought...
all Italian, American Italian, they all look the same to me.
De Niro was fantastic in Grudge Match with Stallone. I thought it was great.
I mean, he played a lot of like random bit parts and things. I mean, yeah, I guess it depends on your taste, really.
Like a day's work, quick, collect a big paycheck and off you go.
Yeah, like if like Meet the Fockers is your type of humor, that's not a bad movie, but it's not a good. It's not a good movie.
The first one's a good. I like the
Meet the
first
Parents
movie.
Solid, if I remember.
Yeah, the first one is.
Yeah,
good.
it's not like it's. I'm like it depends on like what you define as a good movie. Like, are you talking like award-winning movie, which I guess doesn't mean much anymore, but like that's a perfectly reasonable comedy. Like that's perfectly fine comedy. So yeah,
reasonable comedy.
Reasonable comedy. The reason.
Well, the best was described that way.
Reasonably funny. Blue Collar Loser says, excited that you brought Dark Hour on. Excuse me. How does it feel that you are helping out smaller channels? You keep inspiring more people to create. Not even as a friend, but Dark Hour's content has only gotten better since you let him on for Happy Hour. You gave him a good start, so thank you for that. Nice one, thank you, man.
Blue Collar Loser and me have actually streamed together before. A couple other guys I've streamed with him. A guy named Tyler Wolf. He's got a pretty good channel, and a buddy of mine, Stupenzo. He does some funny stuff. I said I would if one of their super chats got through, I'd give him a shout out. So there you go, guys.
Nice one. I mean, like honestly, like one of the little perks of being like in a reasonably good position as a YouTuber is like you can help out other channels that are just up and coming because they deserve it. Because like we all probably got little helping hands from other bigger channels at some point in our career, like a chance to go on a live stream or like take part in something else with other people. It's always fun to do, and if you can pay it forward a little bit, then why not?
And to just piggyback on that, honestly, like it's been an amazing thing. You've helped me twice now. Like the first time I didn't even have a channel, which was like a weird experience in of itself because I had nothing to even push forward. So this time has been so amazing. It's I can't thank you enough for that.
No problem at all, man.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And I have to thank Platoon as well, who's here. He's helped me a lot as well. I don't want him to seem like I'm not acknowledging that either.
But let's be honest, as is the real hero here, though.
I know we just met today, but it's all me.
Yeah. Grimnack says, Drinker, my daughter Everly turned 1 yesterday. I super chatted about convincing my wife on Eowyn as a name, so it was the closest compromise. Fair play. Could you wish her a happy birthday to show her when she is older? Aw, I'm going to be probably dead from liver cirrhosis by the time she's old enough to appreciate this, but I will do it anyway. So Everly, I hear that you've turned 1 today. Congratulations. I hope you had a wonderful birthday and many more to come. I hope you have a fantastic time. And whatever far off future year this is, I hope we're all still alive.
Yes. Speak for yourself.
Yeah. Damn, well, the rate you're going, man, you're going to be buff and like killing it. Yeah. You're the only one here who's not having energy drinks, alcohol, fatty foods or anything. So yeah, you'll probably outlive all of us.
I'm probably the only one who's in massive regret as well.
I mean, I used to cut weight for jiu-jitsu tournaments years ago, so I know your pain. Because it is not having, like, just basically living on, like, water and, like, whatever you're told to eat is terrible. I stopped doing it.
Thank you for reminding me.
I stopped doing it about 7 years ago, and I gained quite a bit of weight since then. So
you can have some of mine if you want. I don't mind.
I like it to go the reverse. I'd like to stop that trend.
Everyone's a critic.
Mr. Takabuti says, and this is correct actually, from what I've read from, I think it was Deadline, says Indy 5 is tracking for a 70 million opening weekend. Ooh, doesn't suit you, sir. Yeah, that looks brutal.
That doesn't belong in a museum. Just bin it.
Yeah. I mean, if Little Mermaid, that got like, what, 110? Something like that for 110 million for its opening weekend. If Indy only gets like half of that, barely.
That was 4 day. it was 95 3-day.
Oof. Yeah, this is awful if that's the case. I don't know how they can tell this far out, but yeah, sure.
Beyond the Spider-Verse is 20 million up domestically on where Little Mermaid was at the same point, and Little Mermaid had a holiday as well.
Yeah, the fact that it had an extra long weekend, basically, it should have killed it for like way more than it did.
So yeah, it's Spider-Verse is smacking its ass.
It just feels so much like with apathy with Indiana Jones, because it's not even one of those where people are very head up before it comes out because there's an incredible, like, controversial casting decision, or actors saying incredibly dumb things, or them really. Well, I know you're mouthing Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but like, I'm not getting. But I mean, even then, I'm not getting like general absolute hatred for that. I'm just getting a why the fuck bother vibe from it. No one seems to give a shit, and I think because Kingdom of the Crystal Skull didn't perform brilliantly. It's just that no one cares anymore about Indiana Jones, which is a shame because it's such a lovely old franchise. But I think, more than hatred, it's just no one cares.
So actually, I was just thinking about this because I saw someone in the comments say, jokingly say 6-day weekend, opening weekend. At what point is it now a cutoff for opening weekends and takes? Because like we've pushed it back to like Wednesday nights now. And if you have a Monday holiday, it's like, do you literally just get a whole week and you get to call it your opening weekend? Like I'm wondering when that's
like
they
Pride Month goes on for about 6 months, and Black History Month goes on for about 11 months, and so opening weekends don't have to be constrained by definitions of weekends anymore.
It's just weekends are just a construct of the white male capitalist patriarchy. So you just broaden it out into just be a whole month.
But you get up at the crack of dawn, don't you?
RRTNZ says, "Hail Drinker and crew, nice to see Dark Hour return. Hopefully that you can squeeze in a top 5 films with that you would see with your dad in time for Father's Day, although I suspect you have a few other things on. RIP Calculon and Cheers." Calculon, yeah.
I love the Rip Calculons.
Yeah.
I can answer this question really easily. I don't have a dad.
Well,
that's a stream killer.
Yeah,
answering.
We're down a serious road there.
To watch with a dad? Is that what the question is?
It's not so much a question that we have to answer right now. It was more like he'd suggested either a stream or a video, like top 5 movies that you watched with your dad when you were a kid. Or,
That'd be cool for Father's Day.
I mean, we have 5 people here. If we all pick one, that's a top 5 list.
Well, when is Father's Day? It's like a week away or something, isn't it?
It's not this upcoming Sunday, the following.
Okay.
I'd
Maybe
love to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark with my dad. If I had a dad, I'd love to watch Raiders of the Lost Ark.
The Predator.
I'll be your dad for the day.
Okay, can you
we'll watch
Raiders
it together?
Of the Lost Ark with me?
Yeah, come on, son, we'll go watch it together. I know you're not getting any popcorn.
Oh, God damn it!
You're not my real dad.
For me, it's easy. It's just the top 5 Schwarzenegger films, and you're good. Done.
I was going to say T2 was going to be my pick.
T2, throw in Conan, Commando, Predator.
Well, I wanted to get into the psychology of it though, because you got films like Hunt for Red October that have just become like the dependable dad movie of like generations. So I would want to think about what's things that I really remember watching with my dad. But we'll talk and we'll see if we can work something out with that. Anyway, Normie says, "Thanks for the sitcom suggestions last week. I started Blackadder and I absolutely love it. If Dial of Destiny, yay, go Blackadder. If Dial of Destiny is a major flop, does that finally lead to a change of leadership at Disney? How many failed projects will it take? Apparently quite a lot. But yeah, like we said earlier, that's their last franchise that they haven't bulldozed into the ground. So when that's gone, there's literally nothing left for them to exploit. I mean, could Lucasfilm do something crazy, like just come up with a new idea, a new IP? Is that even possible now?
I mean, why would they bother? Like, at that point, it would just make it a Disney product. Like, you bought Lucasfilm specifically for the existing IPs. Why use it? Why would you bother to use it to further, to make a new thing and just slap your full company name on?
the realization is more so just we did it, guys. We reached the end of the trail. That's it. We opened up our big briefcase of Lucasfilm stuff. And we killed all of it. So there you go.
We do have Howard the Duck still, so yeah, that's
well, he's
truly
in
the last bastion
the
of true art.
Well, he's already appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy, though, so that would be a Marvel product at that point. It wouldn't be a Lucasfilm product.
T1S, this is for $100. Thanks, man. Says, I have a friend, who's gone full consumer. He thinks that Clone Wars is peak Star Wars, better than Empire Strikes Back. Well, I don't know if you need him as a friend. He says that Henry Cavill is a pretentious asshole for pushing productions to stay true to the lore and is eagerly waiting to buy the Lord of the Rings MTG set. Help.
How is that pretentious?
No one can help you.
Yeah, I don't think this guy can be helped. Like, I would just ditch him as a friend at this point. Like,
well, you don't have to ditch him as a friend. Just why the fuck does he think any of these things? Just get a little look inside the old brain there.
Yeah, I mean, like, at what point? Yeah, where do you have to get to in life to be able to say, like, wanting to push productions into staying true to the lore that they're adapting? It makes you a pretentious asshole. Like that means you care. That's something that's in desperate short supply at the moment.
Yeah,
we need people that care.
Pretentious, but
yeah, that's like, it's not trying to push your own views on things. It's like, yeah, just stick to the views of the original authors.
I got a question. Is your friend called Kathleen Kennedy?
That's wrong, I reject your premise because she doesn't have friends.
Oh.
Unhinged says, Mauler is so interdimensional that it makes my moon moist.
Wow.
There you go.
That's the plan.
That's the effect you have on the ladies, Mauler. Noxide says, I really like Spider-Verse 2, but the major gripe I had was the canon dilemma. It felt really contrived and was used to disguise the meta commentary. I think you're saying all the right things from Mauler right now.
Yeah, so I think Az kind of mentioned it, but there was definitely like when you had like, you don't belong here, Miles. I was like, I get it. I understand. Yeah. I know what's going on.
Yeah, that was a bit that like you're talking about like toward the end. That was a bit over the top. Yeah.
You were a mistake.
Yeah. And everyone fucking hates you, you little bitch.
You can just imagine Miles going, oh. Okay. I'll just be in the car if you need me. What's the next one? Carrie D says, awesome job as prosecutor drinker. Concise, direct, informative, and on topic. And you rock the suit. Thank you. The lols were great too. I hope you do it again. I mean, yeah, I brought the best case that I could. Just don't put me in an actual courtroom again, because I've spent too many times there. It's nice to be on the prosecution side for a change. Paolo says, if there's an infinite universes containing spider people, who would win in a fight between Spider Drinker, Spider Mauler, Spider Az, and Spider Platoon, and Spider Dark Hour?
Well, I have actual fight training. I don't know who else does on the panel. So
Mauler is a Cthulhu god.
That is true. That is true.
So you think you could go up against a Cthulhu god?
No, I don't
think so. I don't think
well,
so.
I've got the power of not feeling pain because of the drunkenness, so I feel like I'd be quite a formidable spider fighter.
Like Kick-Ass.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd probably give it to Mauler.
Platoon is a cartoon, so he could just do whatever the cartoon says.
He gets toon physics, which will be tough to beat.
That is true, yeah.
We have to make a fighting game now with all of these.
Yeah, we need to make a tournament of this.
Open bar the fighting game.
I'd have a heart attack the moment exercise begins, so I'd be out.
I was just checking it because my range of movement and attack powers are pretty limited to that. And like it's not gonna do.
So that right there, that is your zone of terror.
Right.
Just this.
If he gets you with that, oof, you're out of the stage. It's like
what was that dive kick where every move was just a dive kick, and if you hit somebody, it was automatic. That's it. It's just the one.
I just imagine somebody being next to Platoon and being like, ah, you fucking burnt me with with his ciggy,
Oh,
man?
bitch.
Thing is that high grade alcohol in the glass there, so you could just pour that on them and then just
Yeah,
burn them with a
Molotov
cigarette.
cocktails, and I have
Yeah.
"Don't punch me, I'm wearing glasses." So that's the ultimate.
Ah.
CJ Knoll says, "Hello, Bar Mauler. Do you play Factorio?"
Yes, not currently, but have played it. It's a pretty neat game. If anyone out there hasn't heard of it, it's just like a base building resource management thing. You can mine stone and then make a big stone thing that mines better things, better things, until you create like a giant laser and destroy Earth or something.
Oh, wow.
Naturally.
You really sold that.
It's if you know, you know. That genre of games, Factorio is one of the most popular ones for it, and it's
Nice.
fun.
Butter Biscuit says, "Loved your interview with Dropping In. Keep it up." Yeah, I think that's I lose track of the interviews I've done. I think that's Charisma on Command. He's got his own podcast sort of thing that he brought me in for, so that was really good. He was a nice guy to talk to, so yeah, I enjoyed that. Peter Gorhamby says, "Hello, Drinker. I loved seeing you on Critics Court this week. Would you consider doing a more in-depth rebuttal of some of the points made by the defense?" Not really, because they didn't make any points. Like, they were just kind of dicking around. I don't know what they were on, but they were having a good time while they were doing it, so nice. But yeah, it was just a bit of a laugh. Michael C says, "Drinker, Mauler, have you or the panel watched any good TV shows recently? I hope you're all doing well." Well, I've started Succession, and I really like it.
I've been meaning to start that. I've heard nothing but great things.
I loved season 1 and 2. They're fantastic. Maybe I'll just stop there.
Okay.
I think Silo on Apple TV started quite strongly. It is slowly spiraling out of control a bit, and I really hope that it pulls itself back together. The premise is really interesting. It's just that it has way too many mystery boxes. 1, mystery is really compelling. 2, it's still quite compelling. 3, 4, losing me a bit. 5, please get back to the point. So really well produced. I mean, everything on Apple looks spectacular, and they are actually trying to adapt new things as opposed to just buying up massive companies and using established IPs, which I appreciate. It's just that, yeah, I want them to stick a landing and not just a beginning, really.
Next one is Cody Griffin says, "American cheese is the best cheese for a cheeseburger because it melts without splitting." Very true. Oh, that cheeky chef Slovak, giving life lessons even before he sets everything on fire. What a champ. Yeah, that man, that was the most satisfying cheeseburger making scene I've ever seen in a movie. It was just great.
And there's
I like
a long
that.
list. There's a long list of cheeseburger making.
There is indeed, yeah. But yeah, he was just so happy to be making an honest meal for someone. I really like that scene. And Ray Fiennes, can't fault his performance. Very much enjoyed it. I'll do a couple more and then finish up. Jester of Roanoke says, "Do you ever feel like Ray from Ghostbusters, where if you think too hard about some franchise that you love, it will pop into existence in a terrible way?" Yeah. We've talked about Back to the Future before, and it's like, don't mention it, because I feel like somehow it's going to bring it into existence as a remake.
Eventually.
Tyler Wolf says, "Congrats to Dark Hour. We're all proud of you."
That's the Tyler Wolf I was talking about.
Nice. Ginger Jedi says, "Just listening to the new Joe Rogan podcast with the director of John Wick, and he praises the Critical Drinkers channel, which is fantastic." Thanks very much, man. And yeah, kind of surreal, but quite cool at the same time. And I'll finish up with this one. Wes Van Katz says, "What soundtrack is better, Lord of the Rings or Star Wars? Also, the little platoon sounds like Stewie from Family Guy."
It's just the accent. I don't sound like Stewie.
Yeah.
That's a really, really tough question. I would probably say Star Wars just for longevity and impact and variety.
Do we get access? Is it like pick a movie and then which is the best, or is it like all of the Star Wars suite versus all of the Lord of the Rings suite, so to speak?
Should we narrow it down a little bit and say like maybe the OT suite?
So versus the Lord of the Rings. Well, so funnily enough, I think my favorite soundtrack from all of Star Wars is Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith has one of the strong because it has well, they do reuse what is it? Duel of
Duel of the Fates.
And
There's a
they
lot
have
of
the
fantastic
Battle of the Heroes is another good one on there. But if we're just going with the original trilogy, I really like the Return of the Jedi one. The Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So that's. I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings guy, so I'm probably just going to go with lean Star Wars just by default. But Lord of the Rings does have a fantastic soundtrack.
I think, yeah, I'd probably go with Star Wars just in terms of overall quality and like iconic.
You hear that
themes and so on.
Yeah, you hear that sound come on. You know it's Star Wars. It's like you don't have to be like, oh, like what is this from? You know it right off the bat.
It's also, you know, it's pioneering techniques and inspirations in the way that John Williams does. I mean, John Williams brings film scores back into the domain of classical music, where previously there was a lot of snobbery about film scores, and he did a lot of work behind the scenes to try and redeem the reputation of that thing, and also show that like the leitmotif, which John Williams is famous for, and which he takes a lot of inspiration from Wagner and the likes, that can be used in film in a way which is not just character theme, but also like this is the world thinking about the character. And that's the technique that Howard Shore uses a lot in The Lord of the Rings, but obviously he is using it afterwards. So I think for innovation as well, probably John Williams and Star Wars wins it. If we're just sticking to the OT, I think which would I prefer listening to? Probably The Lord of the Rings, though, but overall Star Wars. But the OT it's Williams forming himself as opposed to being fully formed at that point.
I would say Star Wars. I just specific. I mean, it has incredible pieces, but I just specifically remember being a kid and just the music when Luke is going ham on Vader at the end. It's swelling and swelling, and it was just that music was part of the scene. You know, it really was connected and felt. I just got, you know, for one of a cliche, it did send a just chill up my spine, shiver up my spine, and
then it has that like
always stayed with me.
It has that like downturn in it right when you see Palpatine too. That like goes to like the low end. Such a good song.
Well, I love the bit where you know, Palpatine's electrocuting Luke with the Force lightning, and the camera just pans in on Vader, and you get that really like it's a really poignant like moment in the music track, just when he's like conflicted about what to do. Brilliant. They absolutely nailed it with that one. I don't think they could have done a better job. That
would be like a great video, like top like 5 or 10 soundtracks of all time.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
The Lord of the Rings is also absolutely incredible.
It is an absolute banger.
Yeah, I mean, we can't play it down. I think it's just the Star Wars one is just so much more visceral. It just impacts just a little bit harder.
I know it's technically not Lord of the Rings, but I do. It's technically not in the movie either. But whenever it's snowing, I have this and I have to drive in the snow. Like I always have this urge to play Misty Mountains. Like I just put that on like a loop and just listen, because there's like a lot of singing troops that have done like covers of it, and it's just Misty Mountains Colder, I think it is, and like it's just such a good driving in the winter song. So.
But yeah, I'll probably finish up there, because I know there's a whole bunch of other super chats that we haven't quite had a chance to get through tonight, but we will, as always, cover them on like catch-up stream on Sunday probably. And yeah, I just want to say, first of all, thanks for all your generosity, chat. I appreciate all the chats you've sent through to us. Like I say, if we've missed any tonight, we will cover them all. Hopefully we've kept you entertained for a couple of hours. And I also want to say big thanks to our guests. Thank you, Az. Thank you, Dark Hour. And thank you, Little Platoon. Awesome to have all three of you on tonight. I think we've almost got you to 1,000 subs, Dark Hour. I think we're pretty much there.
Let me check. I haven't looked.
If we haven't,
985. So
come on, we're 15 away, guys.
I'll tell you what. I'll do the heavy lifting on the next 15. Don't worry. I'll take care of that.
Yeah,
we'll make 15 accounts.
If we've got a few seconds left on this stream, right? If the people watching, if you're inclined to help them out, see if we can get them to 1,000 tonight. It would be awesome if we could, just before we finish. But yeah, I think there wasn't really anything else I could do tonight. There's nothing else I can cover. But I want to say, as always, thanks for everyone coming in. Thank you to my mods for doing the awesome job that you guys always do as well.
I hit it, so we can. End
Hey, we done it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody in the chat. Thank you.
I believed in you guys, and you came through. So thank you, chat.
And for
since
most of you probably haven't actually looked at my content yet, they did. So, I do. One of the things that I do a lot of, since I do have formal fight training in jiu-jitsu, boxing, several things, I do a lot of fight scene analysis. So if that's your sort of thing, go check that out. I'm doing a series on like Rocky. I've done stuff for Matrix. I've done all sorts of stuff like that. So.
Did you do the hallway fight scene from Daredevil?
Yes, that was my first one, and you tweeted it out. And if you listen to that one and my more recent ones, you can hear the difference in a lot of things, from my sound quality, my scripting. Like, you can hear a lot of difference, and that's only.
Have you done the corridor scene from Old Boy?
I have not yet. That one has been requested multiple times, but I have. Somebody just said Dark Hour versus Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan kicked my ass. He's better at jiu-jitsu than me. I haven't done that one yet, but that is on the list. I've been doing most recently. I've been doing things with Rocky. I want to do something with a Star Wars comparison. So I try to stick in that niche, but I still also do some more contemporary film analysis as well.
Last Jedi throne room scene. Go.
Actually, I did make fun of that in the Daredevil video. I did make fun of that, and how like they just do like mook chivalry. They just stand in place waiting for the person to attack rather than actually trying to gang up on them. So I did take a pop shot at that, but I'm probably going to compare that to a better fight and like do like a comparison of that. I'm not really a trained sword fighter, so that will be an interesting venture for me.
That's okay. Neither were they.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, I'm glad we could reach that milestone. But yeah, thanks everyone. And we will catch you next time. But that's all we got for today. So go away now.
Bye.
Bye.